This is the Environmental Protection Commission public hearing and regular meeting Wednesday, May 6, 2026. First item of business is a public hearing, EPC 12-26, PL 26-32, 16 Arrowhead Way, D. Ebrahimi and S. Ebrahimi to fill wetlands, regrade and install drainage, and construct and create alternative wetland areas and other related features in and approximate to wetlands and watercourses. The property lies along the west side of Arrowhead Way, approximately 350 feet north of Dogwood Lane South, and is identified as map number 62, lot number 25. The zone is R1 and is approximately 1.00 acres. Rick?
Mr. Chairman, we'll start with a few housekeeping items. At a prior TPC hearing, the commission had determined to accept the application and made a determination that a public hearing on this matter was warranted, both for public interest and impact. Section 9 letter was sent out, which outlines the necessity of the public hearing. The commission staff published notice of this hearing in the newspaper per the regulations. The individual notice for this hearing was sent by the applicant to the abutters. One point of interest, that there was a minor flaw in that notice that will necessitate that they renotice this hearing at a future session of this hearing. Staff also generated a list based on your comments and my own review of the application, information that would be necessary to give a proper evaluation of impacts on not only resources but items such as drainage and water quality elements. Plans and reports were generated in response to that written request, and generally they've been listed in my agenda summary report. It includes site plans, drainage reports, environmental wetland assessments, and again, I think there's 19 items there that have been submitted. Subsequent to the generation of that report for your consideration, several additional items have come in and have been uploaded, including a maintenance plan, further plans showing impacts in terms of the spread of regulated areas onto adjoining properties, and correspondence from abutting property owners. We have in our record 2 letters from abutters who have outlined issues and concerns that are pertinent to this application. And those were from Olson and Bagliari. Excuse me if I mispronounced. Just maybe 5 minutes in terms of a presentation of the application. The project is to fill wetlands, regrade, install drainage, and construct an alternative wetland area and other related features in or approximate to the wetlands and water courses that are on this site. The property is developed with the single-family residence, terraces, patios, drainage, septic system, public water. It's characterized by, vast majority of the lot is non-wetland, ranging from very little or no slope in some of the developed areas to more severe slopings at the rear of the property that are more support more native vegetation. There are 2 areas of wetland. The first being really why we're here this evening. There's a depressional wetland or a pocket wetland at the rear of the property that is relatively small, ponds water, supports generally lawn vegetation. And then in the eastern, that's the western side, in the eastern side, there's a swale, drainage way, water course that's closer to the road with some fringe wetland areas around it. The property's not in the flood hazard zone. Wetlands have been flagged by the soil scientist. and the property's not in the flood zone. Where here, the basic purpose of the application is to mitigate a drainage problem. It's been reported that in storms of intensity, that the wetland at the rear of the property fills, doesn't properly drain, overflows, impacts the dwelling in other portions of the property as well. That's probably the most unique portion of or basic premise of why we're here. The applicants has proposed to do several things in an attempt to mitigate those impacts. The first is coming up with a series of, we'll call them hard and soft drainage amendments to the property. The first involving curtain drains, area drains, roof drains that will accommodate portions, particularly at the rear of the property, with an effort to route it to the front of the property, to that swale, to get it away from the house. That in combination with filling the wetland and draining away from the house itself. The additional drainage system involves curtain drains and junctions, and those are all shown on the site development plan, that would drain to a recreated wetland. It would be eliminating the pocket wetland to the rear, creating new wetlands in an alternative location. In doing so, the space shall be excavated about 2.5 feet, and part of its excavation looks like there's a small berm as well. The overflow from that recreated wetland would be piped, again, routed to that front drainage swale. In this application, the applicant is required to demonstrate it has minimized or avoided wetland impact and watercourse impacts and other resource impacts, utilize measures to preserve and enhance water quality, address potential drainage impacts, and provided measures to mitigate for unavoidable impacts or improve the overall conservation values of the regulated areas and property. Very important to this discussion this evening is the discussion of alternatives.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Can't you?
Is the discussion of alternatives. And through the process, the applicant will be discussing how they got to this point, and perhaps if additional alternatives are necessary to further mitigate the impacts. A site development plan has presented. It can report that no additional individual groups of trees or size will be lost as a result of the development. The applicant reports that grade changes in the kind of the low to moderate range, 2.5 feet or so. The project will result in a loss of about 1,041 square feet of wetland, but in creating about 1,120 square feet of wetland in response. About 4,300 square feet of the upland review area is also temporarily or permanently impacted. There's been in your package, there's an assessment of wetland function that was prepared by Alexandra Mock. Generally, she evaluates the functions and values of the existing wetlands, especially in the rear wetland, generally minimal values and functions, and they promote the fact that the recreated wetland and the other improvements that you'll see on is significantly better in terms of drainage, water quality, wildlife enhancement, etc. There's been a drainage report prepared. There's a site plan that's been prepared. The project engineer generally states that there'll be more volume in the area of the recreated wetland, that this improvements, if properly implemented, will not result in adverse impacts on drainage or adjoining properties. I must report that the town's peer reviewer but provided initial comments. They received the revisions to the plans. We do not have revised comments from our peer reviewer in these matters. There's been sediment and other water quality enhancements. There's a sediment erosion control plan. Area drains have deep sumps in most situations, and outlet controls. And the applicant points to the infiltration, the cooling, and the slowing down of stormwater as it enters this recreated wetland as a positive thing. In both situations, there are planting restoration plans or enhancements or creation plans, and they've added notes concerning this commission's policies pertinent to implementation of a plan. And those are all detailed in the report and on the plans. There's been a discussion of alternatives, and I'll allow the applicant to go into it. They basically promote this particular method of treating the stormwater runoff and mitigating drainage impact with the creation of wetlands. But they've also report that they've considered other types of responses, including piping, regrading, et cetera, but I'll allow that to move forward. At this point, I'll turn it over to the applicant. Oh, I just wanted to get back to we have received, again, 2 letters from our voters that have concerns about the development as proposed. One of the larger elements in this proposal is that it involves a relocation of wetland some 36 feet to the north, closer to the property boundaries. And the abutters seek responses to what's the impact on these. Certainly it will project the area of this commission's regulation onto their property, and would potentially be impactful. Staff has listed also in the agenda just some comments that I have in terms of the status of the application, things that can be improved upon, and more information that needs to be gathered to give the application a very thorough review. The biggest part is this discussion of feasible improvement alternatives, which is required under the regulations. But I also feel that there's additional, if the commission goes in this direction with the wetland recreation, that there's additional information that needs to be done, further details on the design of this enhanced wetland area. It's sort of both a cut and a fill that is being administered in order to create the wetland. But there seems to be, I always look at it as if, how do you build this based on this plan? Further elevations, further measures to ensure that it doesn't seep. There's also, what's the condition of the existing drainage facilities that are there? How do they go from point A to point B on this particular site? So those are all listed here. A very clear and concise statement concerning drainage and adjoining properties, I think is warranted, and certainly a positive endorsement of any plan by our peer review consultant from an engineering perspective.
Who is up here?
It was our peer reviewer,
Yeah.
Joe Canis,
Okay.
from Time Bond. With that, I'll turn it over to the applicant. I'm available to answer questions as need be, and that's it.
Good evening. Good evening, Alexandra Mok, wetland and soil scientist, and tonight I'm going to be presenting the project. However, Rick did a really good job in describing what is being proposed. So I'll just walk you through the visuals so you know which areas he was talking about and where the wetlands are. So this is the property, and we have one wetland which is in the front. So this is Arrowhead Way. We have one wetland in the front. There is a stormwater ditch, I would call this intermediate watercourse, which actually I've been to the site several times, and I was trying to determine what is really driving the flow. And it looks like the flow is driven more follow the rain event rather than really the groundwater. But nevertheless, I would still qualify this as a intermediate watercourse. here's the residence in the central portion of the site, and this wetland is the existing wetland, which is a little bit more than 1,000 square feet. And here's the proposed wetland. And I know that the location is now in question because our upland review area now expands over 2 different properties before it actually ended at the property line. So that's the difference. We did look at both properties, and on this property there's a slope, and the garage, which was in comments, is not located within the new upland review area. Also, the septic is over here, so it's also located outside of the upland review area on number 2 Dogwood. Also, the slope is 36%, so and wooded, so this was probably the reason why nobody ever tried to improve the slope, because it's steep. Nevertheless, yes, we are expanding the upland review area onto Dogwood. Also on 1 Dogwood, and the comment was regarding the septic, that there is a septic, and now the wetland is going to have a negative effect on the septic. So this is our upland review area. This is number 1 Dogwood. This is Arrowhead Way. This is the Dogwood Lane North. This is the approved septic, and this is our upland review area, which is just touching the corner. Again, I'm not saying that we are not expanding, but I just would like to show you where things are. We are proposing restoration of both wetland systems. The one in front, which right now is mostly maintained as a lawn with occasional trees. Actually, this is the back wetland. My apologies. So this is again the property line with 2 Dogwood. This is the back property line. The reason why we actually chose this, because this is the slope going down here, and everything is draining towards. This is the old wetland here in the middle of the existing wetland. So the natural drainage will be into this corner. So not only we wanted to take the wetland away from the house, since the flooding is chronic and has been going on for quite some time and create some damage, we just wanted this to be farther away from the house. We know that climate is changing. We may be receiving more storms and larger storms. This will be just a safer place.
What damage is being caused?
The house was flooded inside, and we have the owners, they can speak to it.
Yeah, okay, I have a question too.
Yeah.
Oh, they did a drainage application, a drainage improvement, in early last year, early in 2025. What was that about?
So you're talking about the drainage improvement on the road?
This house has had a number of applications to EPC. The latest one being 02/2025. Okay, that was approved in April 2025.
There were two distinct things there. There's the drainage improvements that were more recent, that's referenced in the reports, is that the association did improvements to the drainage in the road.
Okay.
So that was
The prior EPC application didn't move very far along in the process as they attempted to generate additional technical information. It was ultimately withdrawn.
Okay.
But there was prior applications in which a little rain garden was created, there was a dry well added, there was some landscaping improvements, et cetera, that go back, some number of years.
Was this depression in the back lawn, an old rain garden?
No, that's.
Was it a tree?
The original wetland and.
Was it a tree? Because
Tree.
Okay, was it a tree where the roots have collapsed, roots have
No.
deteriorated in the ground?
No, actually this whole, because the whole yard here is surrounded by a very steep slope coming
Yeah.
from the neighbors.
Well, that's
So
dogwood, yeah.
the drainage goes down, rushing very quickly, and then basically it comes here, and it comes here, and then this is the lower area, which is the wetland. and then gets into this area, and there's no overflow other than going towards the house. So that's the only way out, and unfortunately, when this fills up, flooding happens.
So, I'm sorry, I think there's a lot of moving parts with this, and I want to move this in a static manner. So you've been referring to the wetland in the front yard, and you just reference, correct? You're
So
referencing the
easterly
easterly wetland, is what as you've been speaking, you've been pointing to the easterly wetland. Is that correct?
So this is the wetland in the back.
Well, that's the westerly
Of the
wetland, but
residence,
up
yes.
until Mr. Yosin's question, you've been
Yes.
referencing damage that the easterly wetland has caused the home.
No, the back wetland, the backyard
you-
wetland is causing
maybe
the
you didn't-
damage.
So just for clarity, I heard you say, as you were pointing to the easterly wetland in the front yard, that wetland has caused damage to the house.
No, that's not.
Is that incorrect?
No, that's incorrect, because this wetland
Okay.
actually flows underneath the street.
Okay, so that wetland is performing,
Yes,
and you're gonna look to enhance that wetland as a general scope of the application.
right, and I'm
Okay.
sorry to jump around, just like, let's go back to the planting plan.
No, I'm following, I just wanted to clarify.
And thank you for doing this, because if you didn't understand, probably there were more people here who may not catch this. So, okay. So,
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you just said. Can you
So,
repeat yourself?
no, thank you for asking for clarification, because if you were not clear about it, probably more people were not clear about it, and I would like to make sure that I communicated well. Sorry for that. So this is the back wetland again, existing here, which is not highlighted. This is our planting plan, and again, the reason being why we push this farther from the house, and also settle this here in this corner where we have those steep slopes coming down and naturally gravity flow going to this new basin. We are going to be planting it, so the center is going to be filled with herbaceous ground cover, because it's going to be experience flooding from time to time. So we would like to just do the herbaceous ground cover. It's going to be more durable. And then we have shrubs along the edges, and then we have evergreens along the edges to provide a little bit more privacy. So this is not going to be that visible from the adjacent properties.
I apologize, 1 minute, I apologize to interrupt. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if there's neighbors here this evening that would like to see the presentation.
Yeah.
If anybody's here, you're certainly invited to pull a chair up to the
I was
front.
given a copy. I
And
think.
as she points along on the map, that
You can follow the discussion.
you can
Thank
follow
you.
the discussion.
Helpful.
I
Thank
presume you
Thank
gentlemen
for
don't
that.
have x-ray
Yeah.
vision.
It's a desire to see.
That's a good point, Michael.
So this is
I can't see this, can I just see if
Yeah.
the bearing on this?
So this is the new wetland proposed.
Where's Arrowhead Road?
This is the back of the residence.
Where's
This is
the
the
road?
residence. It's not shown on this plan.
Where is it?
It's not on the plan.
Where is it?
But it's here.
Here?
No, it's here,
It's
here.
here, yeah,
Yeah.
very good.
That's the back of the house. This is
Sir,
the
I think we have a seat.
Yes.
Take
I just wanted to
notes,
see- I just
and
wanted to
you're
see
gonna
what
get an
we're looking at.
you're gonna get an opportunity to,
Oh,
you'll get an
no problem.
opportunity to ask questions.
Sure.
But
So
I
the-
wanna make sure that you get to see
Yeah, I
everything.
just wanted to.
Okay,
get
so-
it on.
Excuse me,
Thank
a point of order here. This is a public hearing. There's a process to the public hearing. The applicant presents, the commissioners then have a chance to question, comment, and have a back and forth with the applicant and his or her representatives. When we're finished, at that point, we open up to the public, and it's all yours.
Very good, no, no. just wanted
Okay,
to see what
so
the map was
I love
showing.
having the public comment on it.
Thank you.
So,
So just go back quickly. This is the existing resident, wetland. This is the Arrowhead Way. Dogwood is here. And this is the existing wetland. This is the residence here in the middle. This is the proposed wetland. And this is the wetland in the front. So the planting plan which I described was for the proposed wetland. And now we're going to be moving to the front wetland. So this is Arrowhead Way, and you have this channel, and then here was a new pipe installed, which is 12-inch pipe underneath the road. So basically, this is the capacity the pipe can take. So if our drainage is going to be overwhelming the system, this wetland is actually going to become a rain garden, and potentially in a really huge storm event, this could be flooded. But the pipe has only the capacity it has, and we're not changing it. So whatever is going to go to the other side is going to be consistent with what is here today. We're proposing a lot of herbaceous plants within the wetland area, and also some shrubs along the edges.
But Alexandra, just to be clear, this wetland is performing. It is an intermittent water course. It fills up with water and it enters the association. Is it the drainage owned by the association? Is that, it's the association's drainage?
Yeah, so that's
The pipe under the road.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the property of the association.
Yes,
Okay, and the association's responsible for maintaining that pipe?
I imagine so, yes.
Right. Is the association responsible, or the association sets the bylaws for maintenance and the property owner that abuts that pipe is responsible for maintaining it?
It's the association. They just recently upgraded it this past summer.
Can you
Right.
just, if you have a moment to speak, if you want to speak, or answer, you can answer the question for the presenter, or if you'd like to go up and say it, just state your name for the record, so I can get you on there.
Hi, Daniel Ibrahimi. So the association owns that pipe and maintains it. And just to revisit your earlier question, I believe there was a question on whether there was a tree that was planted and removed, and that was possibly causing this like flooding situation, right? Or bowl area. Actually, there's a catch basin in the center of the bowl area with no outlet. So there's no discharge, right? So the water has nowhere to go. It's been like that since we purchased the house. We were told there was a pipe that goes to the front of the house to the creek to discharge it. That's not the case.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Thank you for-
therefore,
thank you for
the problem we're
clarification.
trying to solve is the flooding issue. That's the predominant problem.
We're gonna all lead somewhere here, but Alexandra, I just wanna be clear, and Wayne can certainly opine on this as well, is there's no defect in the wetland in the front yard.
What do you mean by defect?
Well, it's not overflowing and that it's filling up with water and it's draining.
Well, actually, the channel is not very active, that's what I can say. It's only flows after heavy rain events. You can see that there's some sort of discharge coming probably from the drainage from the house. Other than that.
So there's
yeah,
volume,
And
you
so-
have volume too.
Yeah. There's some
to-
capacity to store stormwater
Okay.
within the wetland.
Perfect.
So I think the question, I think the answer is the front ponding area is not causing the flooding in the home.
No.
Is
No,
that
and
correct?
actually it's not ponding. It's not ponding whatsoever.
It's intermittent.
This wetland is pretty dry, I would
Okay,
say.
all right, thank you.
It's kind of seasonal. So now, let's go talk about the alternative, because I know that the neighbors are anxious here and they are not happy with the location. However, again, this is not the wetland impact, we're talking about the complaints about the encroachments, but we'd like to respect this and would like to make sure that we acknowledge it. So,
Have the owners of this property talked to the neighbors to come to some resolution, or is this being put to us to try to resolve this?
So we decided that because it's sometimes hard to make everybody happy, so we decided that we will come to you first and see how you feel about the project in overall. Because we already submitted once the same proposal and we never had a chance to come and actually present it. We had to withdraw the application because it expired. The review process expired. So right now we have the first opportunity to actually introduce this to you, and it's not very common that someone is going to be relocating the wetland in the area, and I understand that this is a very complex process, and we just would like to see whether or not you see this as one of the solutions.
Have you ever, in your career, or Wayne, in your career, have you ever relocated a wetland to another place,
Yes.
having an impact on neighbors?
No, there was not a wetland, I mean, not an impact on the neighbor. The circumstances were more related to the fact that there was a developable lot which has a large area of wetland, which came very close to the only area which could be developed. And then we just mitigated this by filling portion of the wetland which was in the way of development and creating comparable area offsite, I mean not offsite, but like farther away from the house to make sure that we're not having any wetland losses.
But in that case, it was within the same parcel and there were no upland review impacts on any neighboring properties.
Right.
Thank you.
Talking about the different alternatives, I did meet with Rick twice, and actually more than that, where previously we have submitted the original application. And we're going back and forth, and there's no really perfect solution here. So the solutions which we're seeing or alternatives could be that we may take this wetland if the commission feels that wetland creation is something you really like. And quite frankly, the wetland we're proposing is going to have much better value and functions than the one which is currently here with the catch basin and maintenance alone. And we know that long maintenance requires nutrients, et cetera. So this is almost non-functioning wetland. And we will create a wetland which is comparable in size and has all these values and functions, better values and functions, the best you can have in such a developed neighborhood. So the other alternative could be that we can remove the wetland farther away from the property lines, so the upland review areas are not going to be encroaching upon the neighbor's property or encroaching very little. As a matter of fact, every property has a zoning setbacks, and if you are within the zoning setbacks, you really can't do anything there anyway. But we can talk to them, and hopefully we can find a solution and to move the wetland a little bit farther and create the same proposal, just with different location. The other alternative, and probably this is the last alternative, which is feasible, is to have this catch basin the way it is now and add a pipe. So the catch basin basically is collecting the water from the roofs in the back of the house and also patio, which is located here. So there are two pipes, one coming from the patio, one coming from the roofs. They discharging in, but there's no out. So basically, the catch basin overflows to the wetland and creates a first problem in the flooding, the step number one towards the flooding. And then later on, you're receiving all the sheet flow from the slopes from the neighborhood, and this adds to the injury. And now we're having a puddle which doesn't have a way out. So we are proposing to replace this catch basin because it's an old catch basin and it's a leaky catch basin. And we're going to make this watertight, means that it's not going to be draining groundwater. So groundwater is the mechanism which actually keeps the wetland functioning, because the hydrology makes the wetland alive. So it is very important that we're not changing the groundwater relationship. So the catch basin will be basically just collecting the surface water, wherever it's being catched from the watershed and also from the leaders and gathers. And then we're going to have a pipe very similar to the proposal here, and the pipe is going to be taking this water to the stream, to the channel in the front. And hopefully we can hear from the commission and what your thoughts are. We really need a solution here. The flooding is unbearable, and
so there is another alternative, which is to do nothing. But let me ask. That is an alternative, a legal alternative. But let me ask a question on the home. The flooding, when it happens, is there a finished basement? Is that what's getting flooded? What is the condition that's happening in the home? And tell us about sump pumps and French drains and how the home is constructed.
You want to come up here?
So there's a crawl space, and that's what has been flooded during intense rain. So flash flooding, intense rain, when the backyard is flooded, because there's no outlet. There's no drainage catch basin that doesn't have an outlet, right? So then the yard is, overwhelmed, and that water goes into the crawl space.
Does the water get into the living area within the home?
No, but there's a lot of mechanical equipment in the crawl space, right? Air handlers and, there's the hot water heater.
Have you thought about elevating the equipment and locating it outside the crawl?
It is elevated, but you can't have a crawl space that's flooded, right? That's a risk to the house, the foundation, et cetera. That's not reasonable. And mold, yeah, which my wife is allergic to.
Mhm.
Hey, Wayne, what's the elevation of the, we're gonna talk about the wetland, a whole bunch of questions for you guys about the wetland, the westerly wetland. What's the bottom elevation of the wetland? So you got the bottom of this depression, and then what's the top of the depression of the lawn area?
Right. For the record, Wayne Devanzo, Fairfield County Engineering. You mean the existing wetland or the proposed wetland?
Yeah, the existing wetland.
The existing wetland, the bottom elevation is about 31 point. It's about 31.4.
Inches.
No, that's the elevation.
Okay, so the bottom is 31.4, and
Right.
what's the lawn area abutting it? What's that elevation?
31.6, 31, it's very flat.
Help me out, Wayne. What is that?
It's a very
6
flat.
inches?
No, not even that.
It's 3 inches.
Yeah, 2.5.
Is it a
3
vernal
inches.
pool?
No.
So how is 6-inch depression causing such catastrophic flooding? to
Well,
the property?
this is like the bottom of the bowl, and they're getting the runoff from, the whole slope above and some impervious surfaces above. Plus, the way it's constituted right now, their back half of their roof and the patio, like as mentioned, it goes to that drain, which does nothing. It goes nowhere. So it's just dumping all the runoff from the roof, half of the roof of the house and the patio.
I'm just
into
looking
that area.
we're just, for your information, or anybody's information, I'm looking at satellite imagery of the site, okay? And my understanding is that the far westerly property line is at the highest elevation, correct?
Well, really, the southerly, I think, property line is
Okay,
higher.
the southwesterly area
No, yeah.
has a high topography,
Yeah.
and at the stem wall of the home is the low topography, correct?
Correct, right. yeah.
Okay. And this wetland that is, how close is that wetland, the closest point to the house?
The existing one?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the other one's not a wetland, so we're not calling that a wetland. We're calling
No,
the
less
actual
than 10
wetland the
feet.
wetland.
Yeah,
Less than 10 feet,
at the closest point.
How many?
less than 10 feet.
Less than 10 feet, okay. And was that okay, so what's the function of that depression doing then? If it's only a negligible 3 to 4 inches of depression,
Well, that's the problem. It's got virtually no volume to it. So when the water is just dumped out, is directed to it or routed to it, it fills up very quickly, overflows, if that's the right word, and just spreads, on and across the, towards the road area to the east, and it floods the crawl space, and I thought also the garage at once. Yeah.
so, okay. There's a catch basin there that's been there since the owner,
There's a yard drain there.
there's
yeah.
there's a yard drain.
Yeah,
But that's been there since the owner moved into the home?
before that, yeah.
Okay. And what's that function? What does it do?
It does nothing. It does nothing. The roof, the back half of the roof and the patio are routed to it. There's pipes that go to it. And it has no retention value at all. It just does nothing.
Is there a hole? Is there gravel buried? Is it supposed to
No,
be a
it's
dry
just
well?
a structure. It's just,
It's a concrete
it's,
alley?
yeah, it's not large. It's a 2x2 structure. It has no sump.
It's a
Or
concrete,
it's silted.
it's a concrete box?
Yeah,
with No
basically.
bottom on it?
Yeah, and not in good repair, yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if you have knowledge of this. I just looked up, also for reference, I looked up the Town of Darien Assessor's records. So it appears that the homeowner purchased the house in 2005, thereabouts? Okay. And in around, looks like sometime in and around April of 2024, you had a tree removed that was right where this depression is that we're speaking to?
No.
No.
It's further out, that tree,
That,
closer to the hill.
closer to the hill. Okay, so it was a very large tree, would you agree?
Right, that's right.
Probably 100 feet tall? At
Could
least
be, yeah.
80 to 100, not splitting the
That's right.
atom, but it was a
Yeah.
very large tree.
Sorry, could you go up to the podium so I can get you on record, please?
So a
Okay,
large tree was removed in April 2024, roughly.
okay,
That was in the backyard,
okay.
correct?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm looking
Sure.
at the right thing
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
Okay. Did, that tree is in the upland review area, correct? If we're saying it's in the proximity of the wetland, then it would be in the upland review area, correct? Alexandra, correct?
Well, I don't know what the tree it
Okay.
was, but if it was.
Maybe the owner
within
could
the-
point to where the tree
Because this is
was.
the upland review area, so basically it's on.
Could the owner point to where the tree was on the map, please?
Roughly, this is, I'm like spitballing it here, so.
Yeah, best guess.
The wetland is- This is the wetland.
Yeah, right here, maybe it's closer to the hill, back here,
Okay.
where that proposed curtain drain might be.
So Alexandra, that would be within the upland review area, right?
Yes.
Okay. Rick, did the applicant submit a permit to do work in the upland review area to remove that tree?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't,
Do you know if you pulled a permit to remove the tree in the upland review area?
I believe we did.
Yep.
Right?
Sorry, I'm losing my voice a bit, but Sumi Ibrahimi.
Please state your name.
Sumi Ibrahimi.
Okay.
So yes, any work that we've done on the property since we've bought it, we've gotten all approvals.
Right.
So if that tree was taken out, I believe we got an arborist, I can't remember exactly, but we got an arborist and we submitted it to the town and got approval, definitely.
So you came to the Environmental Protection Commission and sought permission to remove the tree?
We submitted whatever we had to submit at the time.
And it was approved.
We didn't come in front of a commission.
Right.
They may have gotten, the
Staff
arborist may have said it was a health and safety issue.
It was hollowed out. It was hollowed out.
I'm being very sequential on purpose. Okay.
Yeah, it was hollowed out, and in fact, when they cut it, it was basically, like, it would have toppled, potentially.
So my thought process here, guys, as I'm trying to understand, is the location of the tree that was removed has a massive root ball system. Did you remove it, or did you just, did you remove the root ball of the tree? Did you pull the roots out with an excavator? No, you just use a chipper and ground the stump below the grade. Okay. And what was the reason for removing the tree?
Removing the tree? Because the arborist said that there was a potential for it to topple because it had issues, structural issues. And when they cut it down, we could tell that it was like hollowed out inside and.
Okay. All right. I have no questions at the moment. We'll let Alexandra and Wayne keep going. Thank you.
So I think I did present the three alternatives, two alternatives plus the one proposed. And we are here to answer your questions.
Okay. like.
Maybe other commissioners ask questions and
Sure.
come back to me.
Peter?
So I do want to go back to the house and to the remediation. Wayne, do you have any estimate in terms of the flow off the roof and how much that's contributing to this?
Yeah, it would probably be in the report, but, you know, it's half the roof, so, and again, it's being directed to that yard drain, so, the roof, half the roof and the patio is a substantial amount of run, you know, way more than the capacity of that wetland, which is something like 400 cubic feet, I think.
Yeah.
So the run, you know, you're talking about a 50-year storm, or even a lesser storm, runoff from 1,200 square feet of roof and 400 square feet of patio is going to exceed that in even a lesser storm.
Because when I think of homes getting wet in the basement or the crawl space, I think of how do you get the water away from that home?
Right.
And that to me is the first response that I think of is how do you get the lead, away, feet away, or even a drain or a French drain? The last thing I kind of think about is moving wetlands. So are we over-engineering the solution here?
Yeah, not really. I mean, the proposed drainage consists of like 4 yard drains and 2 curtain drains to catch all this water. Again, a lot of it's coming from off-site, really, or a fair percentage of it's coming from off-site. We want to intercept that before it gets into this area and causes the flooding that they're experiencing. The other part of the solution is rerouting this, the back half of the roof and the patio from sort of what you just said, not just dumping it into right behind the house, but routing it around into the front. And that is kind of the essence of the idea of the solution.
Or making this drain functional in some way that it kind of...
The problem is it's too low. It's just too low to do anything with. That's why we can't just pipe it to the front. It's already too low. We can't pipe it to that front channel or water course.
Because the driveway here is higher.
Yeah, that is really like that blue area that is currently the wetlands. It's like the lowest area in the whole neighborhood. It's literally just.
Have you ever heard of a sump pump, or have you ever seen a sump pump in a functional area that would be considered a crawl space?
Sure, in a crawl space, yeah. But in stormwater management, as far as drainage goes, it's pretty much a cardinal sin to pump runoff to where you want it to go, to a retention system or wherever you want it to go. I mean, that's not an optimal solution. A lot wrong with it, including, you're likely, when it floods, it's during a storm, you're most likely to lose power, so you really would definitely need a generator to make sure it's going to function when you want it the most. But it's just not a good idea to pump runoff.
And I think the idea is to protect the home, so it's not going to get flooded, not allowed to get flooded, and then try to remedy the water which is already coming to the crawl space.
Between the home and the crawl space underneath, is there any waterproofing membranes or tar that has been applied to prevent the mold within the home?
I don't know.
So there's foam insulation. that is
Which one?
sprayed. Foam insulation,
With
so the whole
nothing-
thing is sprayed with foam.
No waterproofing membrane?
No, but, realistically, you're talking about, off the cuff, a sub pump to funnel water out of a crawl space that might be flooded instead of fixing the actual problem. That can't be an alternative, that's not a solution.
Well, I'm not sure about that. That's for the commission to decide. But I can imagine a French drain around the perimeter of the property is part of the solution.
Well, the wetland it's very close, as was said, a little bit less than 10 feet. So when the groundwater rises around the wetland area, within the wetland area, it's also affecting the area around. So it is fair to see that this is going to be expanding to the crawl space. So it's not just the wetland, because as we said, it's just a depression. So when the wetland floods, actually the area around the wetland also floods, which includes the house.
Wayne, what's the elevation of the westerly wetland compared to the easterly wetland?
It's probably a foot lower, I'm guessing.
You know, realize.
A foot lower? No. No.
Is the front yard a foot higher?
No, I'm saying
than
the front yard is lower, yeah.
No,
I mean, the front
your
yard
front yard is
is,
lower.
The front yard is lower.
yeah, it's
The
about,
street is lower.
it's about 2 feet lower, I would say.
Well, Wayne, that
But
would be,
that's not even a question.
that would be the condition that you'd want to have for gravity fed if you were to pipe the rear wetland to the front wetland. You're already in the,
Yeah,
a quarter inch per foot times 100 feet. I don't
yeah,
know,
but we just can't get the cover over the, again, that drain is low, it's just a lower point, and it's to get the cover on the pipe, we just can't. We have to go, it's a fair distance we have to go also, and it just isn't, it wasn't working. It's, between, and because of,
Could you expand, okay. I think that there are other prudent and feasible alternatives. I've got probably 5 or 6 questions for you that are gonna make you guys work for your money. But I think that there's something that you could do to mitigate any flooding of that wetland before it impacts the neighbor's basement.
No, the homeowner's basement, the applicant's basement.
I meant to say the crawl space and the applicant, excuse me. Well, homeowners, I don't know what I just said. So I meant to say the homeowner's crawl space. I have a big issue with the concept that wetlands are not modular. You can't take a wetland and move it someplace else and make it a wetland and then fill the other wetland. That, on that basis alone, I would not be, this would be a very odd precedent, and I would not be in favor of that.
Can I respond to it?
Sure.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
actually absolutely feasible, and you can create much better wetland with much better habitat. This wetland never going to be planted because basically you open the door in the back of the house and you're walking into the saturated soil. It's tramped over, has no chance to really have any habitat value. And wetland, which is going to be farther away from human activities and restore vegetation, have better water filtration mechanism. What we're going to do, we're going to scrape the topsoil from the current wetland and apply to the new one. So the organic material and the topsoil, which is typical to the wetland, is going to be there right away. So the soil organisms are going to be there. The soil is going to be performing the functions. The vegetation is going to be planted. You have biofiltration. You have many more functions and values of the new wetland. And all you have to ensure is the hydrology, because hydrology is just like blood in our vein. Hydrology is basically driving the life.
Well, I think you have a hydrology integrity issue. I think the currently wetlands exist because of a natural topography and groundwater discharge. Attempting to force the wetland into a new depression nestled along the slope, I believe would lead to failure and failure at the specific subsurface hydraulic doesn't match a design, and I don't.
No, actually, I did take water samples to observe where the groundwater is. That's why everything is calculated, so the groundwater of the area which is proposed to be a wetland is going to be always within 12 feet, which is the basic.
But that's my
requirement
argument.
for wetlands to be
But
wetland.
Mr. McGinnis asked you a question earlier. Have you ever moved a wetland? And your example was, we had a developable site that was, I'm, just so the applicant's clear, I'm all for solving their problem. Your example that you cited of relocating a wetland was a developable site that was pasture, and you could.
No, that was an empty lot. Which
Yeah, you designed an
wasn't
empty
pasture.
lot as if it was pasture. So the engineer has to come up with a whole set of stormwater management, and if there's wetland, then you have to design the scope of the structure around the constraints of the wetland. And if you had area to relocate the wetland, then you had a place to build a house where the wetland wasn't. In this example, there's this existing house with an existing wetland, and if a wetland wants to be a wetland, it's gonna be a wetland. And in this example, what you're proposing is to move a wetland, well, the first part, like hey, this is a concern, is you're proposing that the town approve to move a wetland that abuts a neighbor. And that's a big issue that I have. I would never accept that if I was this applicant's homeowner. Do we want the applicant to have a flooding basement if that's the condition? Absolutely not. But I think you need to come back with a better, prudent, and feasible alternative, because I do disagree with you. Wetlands are not modular, and to move something 30 feet isn't gonna solve that problem. So you're gonna fill the wetland that wants to be a wetland because of a depression in the slope that goes there, and you're gonna put the wetland 30 feet away from that and hope that that performs in the existing. I mean, this is for the benefit of the applicant, because if it was me and it was my house and I happened to be a builder, I wouldn't think that solution would work in the first place. But that's my opinion, that's not as a commissioner.
Created, I wouldn't say very often because of the wetland regulations, but it is really easy to create a wetland, new wetland, if you have hydrology. And because this area is still within low area, and all you have to do, you have to reach the groundwater table, which we are doing. And as soon as you have the hydrology, you put the vegetation, you develop the habitat, and you have the soil, because now you are close to the
I understand
soil
what you're
characteristic,
saying.
which is wet.
I understand what you're saying.
And this is going to work better, so I disagree with you saying that you can create a wetland. Actually, you can create much better in function wetland.
So let me, if I could.
Could I just say something just real quick? As far as the precedent goes, I mean, this lot has a pretty unique set of circumstances that I don't think we would be running into very often in the future. So I don't think, precedent's really the right word for it. It's a solution for, this particular problem with this particular set of circumstances. I would also say, I'll try to put this delicately, I mean, we're creating the wetland out of regard for the idea of wetlands in general, knowing that we have to eliminate a wetland. That's why we're creating a wetland.
Right.
I suppose I could argue an alternative is to not create the new wetland.
So let me give you my perspective. It's slightly different because in some ways I wish the neighbors had their own experts, because that would be helpful for us to counterweight. I'm not sure that the town's engineer is going to represent the neighbor's interests in this matter exactly, so because a town expert is going to represent the town. But I have a difficulty pushing an upland review area onto a neighbor where it doesn't currently exist. I think it's a diminution of the value of their property. And I would even say if we impose that, it would be an unlawful taking of their property. So do you have any response to that?
So that's why we wanted, first of all, the most important is like whether or not one of the solutions could be to impact the wetland farther, because the wetland actually is wetland by soil type.
I understand, but what
anyway,
I'm asking is
what
can
I'm
you
going with.
push an
Yes.
upland review area onto another's neighbor's property, having a diminution of the value of their property without compensating them for that?
So this is a legal issue, not really wetland impact issue, so I'm not sure whether or not this is in your purview, but I understand and I respect, and I'm not going to say we're going to be forcing this through, because we've heard it and we've heard the the neighbors, and we are very respectful. But I think tonight what we would like to achieve is we do have to, in some way, in some degree, impact this wetland. And we're offering to creating a new one, whether it's going to be here or we're going to be sliding this farther away from the neighbors. We will work on it, but we just would like the concept, whether or not you're going to allow us to do this. And then we're going to develop a better plan, which is not going to be impacting the neighbors. And hopefully you can give us your blessing. Also, I would like to.
I just want to jump in a second. So Joe Canis is currently working on on your proposal. And now you've just said that, so this is what I'm hearing, is one is the neighbors have concern and you're not speaking to the neighbors, so the neighbors are here and they're gonna voice their opinion. You presented an application that I believe staff has already said there are prudent or feasible alternatives that you should look at, and you're presenting this modular design where you're moving the wetland. And I think you're getting, at least from Peter and I, that we're not in favor for that, and I'm not speaking to the other applications. And now you're asking us to help you design what you need to build. And I think what you need to do is come back with prudent and feasible alternatives, discuss with staff, and have the town peer review something that's feasible and prudent.
So.
It's not my job to help you
No,
design.
and I'm not asking.
Well,
No, let me interrupt you here a second.
Yep.
One is, I'll agree with you, Mike. Pushing an upland review area onto a neighbor without express consent, it just doesn't fly with me. Okay, so that for me, I join you on that one. So that you're gonna have to come up with alternative. The alternative, the problem here, as I see it, is they're getting flooded. Okay, and you've said that's the source of the flooding. I'll say, well, let's look at the leaders and the gutters and the roof and the roofs. Let's see what we can engineer. I'm not an engineer certified in the state of Connecticut, but it would make sense that you're pushing all the water to this drain, and it's flooding and it's going back into the house. There's got to be something that you can come up with that would take care of that would take care of this. Would take care of this flooding, because that at the end of the day is that a pool forms. Trust me, in rain that describes half a Darien. Okay, the problem is Darien. The problem is, and I sympathize with, is he doesn't want water in his basement. Okay, doesn't need the mold, doesn't need the water, and that's where your expertise is to come through. And I'll agree. I'll just say something right now. The moving of the wetlands is not something I'm in favor, because all of a sudden the gutters and the roof leaders, etc., are all going to have to flow to any alternative wetland you have. I haven't seen if there's a capacity analysis that says in a 50-year storm that proposed wetland can handle it.
Yeah, no, excuse me, the roof leaders and the patio would not be directed to the new wetland. They would be directed to
Well, they are
the
not.
front.
They are.
No, they're not.
You just said that. Okay.
No, they're not. They're directed to the front, to the water course.
They're directed to the front water course.
Yeah, not to the new wetland.
Will be.
In the proposal.
Will be, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But, all right. I'll go ahead.
Okay, were you done?
Yes.
Okay, I have a couple quick questions. So the pipe that the association replaced under the road, it's a 12-inch pipe. Did it replace a 12-inch pipe?
I don't know what the pipe used to be, but right now it's 12 inches.
Okay, so I just want to understand the drainage on the property as it exists. So right now, the back roof leader and the patio both drain into the yard grate that's to the west of the house. Okay, that's what's flooding. And the stone line channel to the east is fed by both rainwater and front roof leaders. Did I understand you to say that?
The front roof leaders. Correct,
Okay,
yeah.
because I didn't see that on any of the plans, but that's what I was led to believe. And then there's also a yard drain to the south of the house. Can you tell me what goes into that?
Yeah, the yard drain connects to a dry well. That's
It connects to a dry well, but
In the
what,
front.
what goes in it?
What goes into the yard drain? on the
Yeah.
side? The lawn runoff, basically?
Just lawn runoff,
Yeah.
okay. Is there anything that I missed? That's the current drainage, correct?
Yeah, I'd say that's it, yeah.
Okay, so in the proposed, in the proposals, the back roof leader and the patio and one of the two curtain drains in the back to the west of the house will, those will be channeled to the eastern wetland, correct?
Correct.
And can you explain to me how the back roof leader and the channel drain and the patio drain will be, how they will be conveyed to that stone line channel?
Yeah, it's a series of piping that goes from the patio across the rear, collects the roof leader, the rear roof leaders, and ultimately connects to the front.
Okay, and then there's also a second curtain drain in the back under the new proposal with the new relocated wetland, and we're just gonna talk about what was proposed. There's a second curtain drain, and that catches some of the runoff from the hill, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that is channeled to the front as well, correct?
No, that is
Oh.
channeled to the new.
That's channeled to the new
proposed
wetland,
Yeah,
but then the overflow from the wetland is channeled to the east, okay?
correct, right.
And then the front roof leaders and the yard drain to the south, those stay the same, those don't change,
Correct.
correct?
Right.
Okay, so, this is a question for Rick, actually. So we have a wetland that, that's outside the house, to the west of the house, that's like not high-functioning wetland. We have not really ever had an application where we've had to relocate a wetland. And I was wondering if you could give us some parameters on, for example, does it have to be in terms of square footage a 1-to-1? Or if you have a non-functioning, low-functioning wetland and you're creating a high-functioning wetland, can that high-functioning wetland, can there be some discretion in terms of the size of it? Can it be smaller because it's higher functioning?
Well, we're going for it slightly here, they are going for a higher, larger wetland.
It's larger, right?
Larger wetland. I've seen, well, I haven't been here 5 years, we haven't filled wetlands and created wetlands.
Right.
In the past, I've seen either a straight up 1-to-1, I also see 1-to-1.5.
But you've never seen
depends.
one where one is smaller, the relocated one is
I
smaller
mean, I
than the
think basically
existing?
you would at least have to have an equivalent amount, if not more.
Okay, equivalent or more,
Right.
even though the existing one is not functioning, it's just lawn
No, I
grass.
think that the benefit long-term is, I mean, there's the volume and there's the area, and then is what do you do with that? You go from lawn to, something that has the hydrology, the soils, and the planting, and the plan of maintenance long-term, that would, perhaps make that a better situation.
Okay, so under the proposal, the back roof and the patio are currently draining, those will already be drained to the front, to the east wetland. Will that not help to some degree, because that's a lot of water that's going into that drain that leads nowhere? Will that alone make that situation better?
It should improve it, yeah.
And then, right now, there's not a lot of shrubbery or plantings or anything on that's a very steep slope, and I know there's a lot of rocks there, but if some plantings were put there, would that tend to slow some of the runoff that also goes into that area, that depression?
Yes.
I mean, is that,
Yes.
I'm just trying to.
No, absolutely, that would be more
Alternatives.
absorption, yes.
So if we, put lots and lots of plantings on that slope and had the water that's going into that drain that goes nowhere conveyed to the front, would that, in your opinion, would that help mitigate the pooling of the water behind the house?
That would be an improvement, certainly. Yeah. How much would be hard to say, but yeah.
Right. Okay. I mean, you're the engineer. So,
Have
that's
you
all.
tested the soil in the front yard if it perks?
In the front, no.
There's a septic system actually in the front
Yeah.
yard.
Well, do we put stormwater so close to septic? I mean, I don't know, well, you would have to figure out if you've got room, but
We don't.
could you take like bite-sized, you've done it before, Wayne, can you take bite-sized chunks of the corners of the house and put them in Coltex that lean?
No,
toward the
there's
front?
really no opportunity for retention on this property. The restrictive layers are so high, there's just, we just can't get any retention. That was the first thing we looked at, really, was to try to retain runoff and perhaps have it overflow. But that's why we did test holes there, but there's just no retention.
It's such a
on it.
big yard, it's such a big
And the soil's
site.
terrible throughout the whole thing.
It's all-
It's high, it's, restrictive layer of 12 inches, and 16 inches, and we have to stay a foot above that.
Has the
It's just
applicant
no-
done any filling? I swear I've seen that site had filling and grading. Has there been filling and grading done on that site?
Not to my knowledge.
Have along?
No.
I have no further questions.
Yeah, I have one more question. So, if in the realm of relocating the wetland, would it be possible to relocate the existing west wetland and just append it to the existing east wetland? So
So
that,
means that the existing wetland will move a little bit farther from the house. That was one of the alternatives.
no, I mean, so right now in the east, there's the channel, the stone line channel, and then in front of that is the fringe wetland. If we relocate the western wetland, could it be relocated and just appended to, like, around the fringe, added to, no, it
No,
can't
because
be?
there's a septic system in the front, and we don't want to risk adding too much more water.
Got it, okay. Mhm.
Wayne, could you just berm from the easterly side of the existing wetland? So between the easterly wetland and the stem wall of the house, could you fill that area and redirect the water to move the right and the left around the house, which would then go to your negative 12 inches at the front and find its way to the wetland in the front yard?
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Could you change the,
Like go-
could you,
Around the house, but
Yeah,
then we'll have to fill
change
the
the-
wetland, that's the problem. Whatever we do,
Yeah,
we have
any
to.
grading that would.
The wetland is
move
the
it.
problem, that's
I'm
why.
asking to help, I'm just asking.
No, I know. Yeah,
Can
it's-
you, what's the
I'm all
distance?
ears.
What's the distance from the easterly wetland in the backyard, the easterly side, so the side that's closest and parallel to the stem wall? What's the difference from that edge of the wetland to the stem wall? How many feet is that?
From the front wetland to, I'm not sure, what do you mean, from the front wetland to?
We're talking exclusively about the rear wetland, because
Oh,
that's the
okay.
problematic area.
Right,
Right, so where your Sharpie is, that is the easterly edge of the wetland.
right.
Okay, what's the distance from that to the stem wall of the house?
less
It's
than
about 10 feet.
10 feet.
Less than 10 feet.
So could you pick up the grade in that 10 feet? I mean, 10 feet's a lot to pick up the grade. Could you pick up the grade and swale it around the house?
Not really, it kind of, it's very flat there, and it just,
We cannot.
it kind of already slopes
You're
towards
already
the house,
into it. Once you
actually.
do it, you've eaten up all, the shingle's already, the shingle on the house is
Yeah.
already in the dirt.
Yeah,
on the stem
it's
wall.
very, it's just not a lot
Okay,
of.
I got no further
We
questions.
really look at all the solutions, that's why actually
Yeah.
the first review, we didn't even make it to present, because we came from maybe detention, we did the test holes, nothing worked. We worked with Joe, and we didn't really come up with any viable solution. We ran out of time, and here we are back again. And as much as we would like to, I think we can go with any proposal which would not affect the wetland in the back in some ways.
I mean, you have a lot of upland review area, Wayne, but can you remove can you remove the non-performing soil with structured soil and make it perk?
No.
Excavate out the.
No, because the problem is the high restrictive layer. It's not a question of perking, it's just, and we can't change that, that's nature.
You have
The
basically
groundwater is,
hard layer underneath,
Yeah.
nothing goes through, everything goes laterally, nothing goes vertically down.
Okay, I have no further questions, thank you.
But thank you for asking all those good questions.
No, I don't think so.
Sarah?
Forgive me, I'm slightly new at this. I guess my first inclination is let's try new gutters and leaders and see what that does before you go talking about moving wetlands, because I agree, creating a new wetland next to a property that could abut something is not favorable. Have you tried redirecting the gutters off the back in the patio? Has any of that been done?
No, I mean, this plan is what would do that. It's,
But I mean, couldn't you do
I
that
mean,
in
replacing the
phases?
gutters.
Couldn't you do that in phases and try that and say, okay, we've redirected
yeah, I mean, yeah, we could just do
before
the-
you go discussing moving wetlands? I mean, to me, it would be phases. Let's see what works.
That's a good point.
That's a
because
really
Wayne,
good point.
this is a massive house with a huge roof area. I would wonder, is the lawn area the culprit for all the flooding and not all the impervious surface area of the roof rocketing off of that thing into the backyard?
So on that note, I don't remember the back of the house. I know the front of the house. Do you have gutters on the top and two different layers?
Correct.
Okay, I just had a house where the entire roof went to one gutter. When we added a second layer of gutters and redirected them, it eliminated all the water that was falling in the backyard. So I'm just suggesting redo the gutters, try it, before you go moving wetlands.
That's a phase one.
Yeah, we would
That's-
still, yeah, and we would pipe it to the front, of
Yeah.
course.
But I
Yeah.
would, to me, I would do all that and then let's talk.
All right. Any other commissioner?
I mean, I would just say, you know, I mean, it's, I mean, I'm all for that, but I mean, kind of trial and error with somebody's property and risking flooding is,
But isn't that part of the proposal anyway, to move the patio and the back roof gutter?
Yeah,
Redirect it to
absolutely.
the front, so
Absolutely.
that's part of it
Oh, yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, no, it's definitely.
Why not do that as a first step?
No, I agree.
And add
I'm
some
just
plantings to
saying,
that slope?
you know, to
Right.
do that and then, I don't know, wait for the next big storm event.
But
and
it
see
could
what
change,
happens.
it could change the plan a bit.
No, I understand. I'm just saying.
And also the sub watershed is pretty large because, well, steep slope.
Yeah, it is.
We have the entire neighborhood, this is the lowest area, entire neighborhood drains into this. And basically on the slope, the drainage even go faster with higher velocity and basically hits the slope area. So the roof compared to the whole sub watershed, it's really minimal.
Yeah, it's a
And then,
small,
every
small
neighbor
percentage.
who adds addition or something upslope is draining more down the slope, so.
Well, I'd like to hear from the neighbor, because here's like a very real reason for this, is I just put in a brand new septic, like, let's just say I put in a brand new, you just said, so I'm giving suggestions as to, hey, can you add infiltration? Can you find other pockets to put the water? And you're saying, no, I can't because I have a septic system. And this is a massive house on a massive piece of property.
No,
It's a
we're
very
saying we
large
can't
site.
use the soil.
So if I was the neighbor and I just put in a new septic system, which I think is a concern of an abutter, you have to respect that we have concern for that as well. So I don't think we're designing your system right now. I personally am happy with all of your answers and everything everybody's discussed so far. I'd like to hear from the
Yeah,
neighbors.
Just to clarify, I'm not sure what was said, but regarding the way and the amount that the proposed upland review area would affect the neighbors, one dogwood, it's about 700 square feet. And I actually did the septic plan for that. It is outside of the septic area. It doesn't affect the septic area.
So this is the
yeah.
encroachment in this corner.
Wait, on the record, are you speaking on the record for the neighbor?
No, I'm just stating a fact. It's,
Okay.
it's about 700 square feet that it would affect, and it's not where the B100 is proposed. It's
Okay,
outside of it,
so
and it's also in the zoning setback.
So,
And regarding 3 dogwood, it's about, which is more affected really, it's about 3,300 square feet of area that would be added. Their existing septic is outside of that, that new area, and their garage, which they may renovate, is also outside of it. And again, most of that area is also in the zoning setback.
So
So just stating the facts about it.
we'll get a chance soon to hear what the neighbors think of that.
Not saying anything good or bad, I'm just stating the facts. That's
I
how
appreciate
much
it.
it,
Thank
that's
you.
what it affects, yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. Has everybody said their will so we can get to open the meeting to the public? Good. Who wants to be the first one? Yes, sir. Please state your name and your address.
Evening. I'm Michael Litt, and I live at 18 Arrowhead Way. I guess I'm in a butter, in the sense that I'm probably about 2/3 of the Ibrahimi's property, on the south and, let's see, I guess, is that the west?
Could you point to
Just point to it here.
Um,
Okay.
Where's the house?
Yeah.
The house is- Oh, that's me?
Yeah, that's way.
Okay, so, that's Arrowhead Way. Okay, so this is my property line,
Mhm.
and this is my property line.
Okay.
I've lived in my house for 24 years, and so I have a pond in my front yard, which is the catchment for Cedar Gate, Settlers Trail, Winding Lane, everything. All the water comes down to that 16-foot deep spring-fed pond, and in huge rainstorms, it can only handle 1 million gallons, and it does cover the roadway. We've discussed this before.
Yeah, I remember you coming before.
Yeah, and I've taken care of the catchment basin when the Tokenic Association can't. They've done a great job. Holt Smith, I give them a lot of credit. They fixed that under South Trail. And what happened was the road had crushed the 12-inch pipe, which was replaced with a new 12-inch pipe and more buttress to protect it because it had gotten collapsed. What happened, I believe, is in the 1950s when this house was originally built, it cut the water course off coming down this fairly substantial slope. And it's this back here where you can see the elevation lines. It is probably, I'm guessing 15 to 18 feet from my back area here down to that basin. The water ponding down there killed that 100-foot tree. It rotted its roots out. I watched it die. So what happened was in the 50s, this water course, everything's trying to get to the Arrowhead Way Brook. And it used to flow. And in answer to the question about the gutters, I will gladly throw a baseball at an F-35 flying over. It's not that, because the volumes of water coming down in this whole catchment basin and off this giant bowl just overwhelm, and I think the engineer pointed it out. If that roof is putting 1% or 3% of the water into that low spot back here, I'd be surprised. The water is trying to get to Arrowhead Way. It was blocked in the 50s. Probably was, P&Z was not watching that the way that they watch. You guys are really watching things much more closely now. I've always said to Dan, the French drain idea of coming around, whether you shift it over and elevate it, as the engineers point out you need to do, and then use gravity, because it wants to get to that dry riverbed that was once fed before the house was built. So you're returning the natural course of water to where it was going always. Jack McKittrick pointed that out to me many years ago, when that house was built, it blocked the water getting over to what I call the Arrowhead Way Brook. So what you're going to do is come up with a solution, and this is all above my pay grade. I'm just somebody who has had to live and manage the water situation down there, and I always try to share that with you guys when I come here. I don't really have a dog in this hunt because my property, from this my lot line here, it slopes down fairly substantially to here. Like it slopes maybe 6 feet like that over 100 feet, right? I don't know what grade that is, but when you get around to here, it becomes a steep, rocky slope. What happened was the glacier melted and it dug that pond out because it's a glacial pothole, or the big pond, but it also tore this bowl out. And what the Ibrahimis have is not only groundwater coming down underground into that, but it's also coming down out of this bowl. And now it's trying to get to where it always went, which is out to the Arrowhead Way Brook. And the question I think for everybody is, how do you come up with a solution to reunite the water with that brook? And the Tokenic Association has put a 12-inch pipe in there. I think I'm not an engineer, it's probably gonna be ample for the takeaway there. It's a lot less takeaway than I'm getting, okay? Because I'm getting the bulk of the water. And I think the only thing you want to do is probably make sure that there is a grate in front of that once you reunite it. The way that they put a grate at South Trail that's doing a great job keeping the pipe from getting stuffed up. And it's keeping the water flowing in the brook so much better now. The solution TA put in, which I think you referenced earlier about the work that was done in 24, 25, it's fantastic. I mean, the water situation down there, across South Trail, under the road, then flowing down into the wetlands down.
And I've driven through there when it opened, back in the day where it would just flood over.
Right, that's
Absolutely.
and then,
It was much worse.
and
Yeah.
if you had a flash flood after a rain event,
Or the winter.
it was like an ice skating.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it was a problem. It's way better than it was, and I think that 12-inch pipe, if a grate were put in front of it, whatever solution you all come up with, okay? I think it reunites what was actually there originally. If you have to shift this over to elevate it and give it enough gravity feed to get to here, right? Whatever you come up with, you probably do have to shift it a little bit that way. It's a gravel driveway. I think you can do it. I think a French drain or something like it. I don't know what a curtain drain is. All above my pay grade. That's just, having been there for 24 years, I took my kayak out one time and paddled around in that lake in their backyard. It was more, it wasn't 3 inches deep. My daughter got out and it was up to here on her, okay? And so the house becomes that sort of the edge of the lake. It's lakefront property, sort of. In those big inundations, I've observed it doesn't drain for 7 to 10 days.
Right.
That's how, so those are just observations over 24 years. Take it or leave it. And I hope that's helpful for you guys to develop some perspective on.
So I'm sorry, but just to be clear, are you saying that if the backyard flooded into a lake, when you were getting out of the kayak or you just walking around the
My daughter got
backyard,
out, yeah.
you had 36 plus inches of?
She was not that big.
Oh.
Let me call it. It's certainly 20. It's a big
So it's
two-man
material.
kayak. It's
It's a
certainly 18 to 24 inches.
It's a material amount of.
Yeah, it's a lot of water that's getting and sitting there and getting pumped into that crawl space. It really wants to get back to the Arrowhead Brook, but in the 1950s,
That's what they did.
that's what they did.
Water
And-
wants to find its level.
Yeah, and it does have its partner in crime here waiting for it to be reunited, in my opinion.
Yep.
And Tokenic Association and the brook can handle it now. Because I think Holt put in a 24-inch pipe under South Trail.
Yep.
And there's a really nice metal grate. We can clear it, you can pull it up, and it's made my life a lot easier when I go down there with my pitchfork in a rainstorm and my Chinese
I
rubber
want to
boots.
say it, but now I
You
remember
remember
this
the case?
gentleman, because
Yes.
the
Yes.
association was commending.
Yeah,
you
was
for-
it, what was it, 2 South Trail, something like that?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, no, the
Yeah.
association and I are
Yeah,
friends.
when they wanted to do the subdivision,
And there's a
there
lot
was a
of,
creek going right along the stream.
oh yeah, they wanted to tear that mountain down. That was a low moment in our in our existence. But anyway, I think this is a solvable problem. I think you guys just all need to, come together. I can't speak to what the issue with moving the wetlands over there. That's way above my pay grade. But hopefully my 2 cents helps you guys.
Thank you.
Ms. Litt, thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, is there somebody else from the public that would like to talk?
Thanks for giving me the opportunity. I'm Sean Olson. I'm at 1 Dogwood Lane.
Last name for the reporter, please.
Olson.
Thank you.
By now, I believe you probably have read my letter to the commission. I appreciate you taking the time to read it and understand that for me, this is a property rights issue in that the relocation of that wetlands will impact my property. As you mentioned, Mr. Irvin, I think, and Mr. McGinnis, you're actually creating setback issues on my property as a result of moving wetlands closer to my property. That property line and my abutting property has a gradual grade to it. It's still improvable. It will, and moving wetlands close to it will move setbacks further away from me, should I ever want to, put a pool in or do something, right? So it's not just the B100 that we have approval on that I feel is impacting for me. And by the way, that B100, we may get into a situation where we have to use that and put that septic system in and find that where we've said it's going to go may need to move, right? Once you start digging and moving stuff around, who knows what you're going to come up with, despite our best efforts to identify the best possible location for that alternative septic system. So in moving wetlands closer to there, it's going to impact that work as well. I also, and I think, Mr. Irvin, you mentioned this too, moving wetlands, I'm not putting words in your mouth, moving wetlands creates a dangerous precedent, I think, for the commission here. You can call it poor functioning wetlands, you can call it high functioning wetlands. If it's a duck, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. If you start moving wetlands here and approve this, it's going to set precedent for other folks to say, oh, well, they approved it here, and now you're in a situation where it becomes something that is acceptable. Wetlands are a natural occurring phenomenon. We don't get to move them for convenience, okay? I feel like there's definitely other mitigating things that we can do here rather than to take a functioning wetland and abandon it and create a new one. I think that's an extreme position to take. I think that, people have talked about French drains, other curtain drains, and, I don't even know if there's a sump pump in that basement. The neighbor has never come to me and talked to me about any of this. And so I just think that, this is going to be placing a burden on me as a property owner. And I hope that the commission, and I think you also mentioned, you guys aren't in the business of protecting me as a property owner. I get that. But I think you bear some responsibility for property owners in this town. And, to allow something like this to happen, I will say will be a big disappointment for me. Again, I think it's extreme. And I think there's other alternatives here rather than, impacting a neighbor.
So let me just say that the comment not protecting neighbors is not quite the nuance what I was saying was, our engineer does not represent you or your neighbor that might be in opposition. And typically when we hear evidence, because this is an evidentiary proceeding effectively, we like to hear not just neighbors' opinions, but also engineering opinions. But your point's well taken, and I think I'll ask it in a question. If someone said to you, well, it's only going to be pushing 750 square feet of upland review onto your property, what would your answer to that be?
Well, so I'm sorry, I don't forget your name, but the woman who is presenting this on behalf of the neighbor said something which really struck me. And she said that when wetlands floods, there's no telling how much it's going to flood, or something of that nature. Okay, so you can say 700, but what's to say it doesn't become 1,500 or 2,500? We don't know. We don't know what the cause and effect of moving this here is going to be. Has anybody done any study to say, okay, if we start with this size wetlands, I'm not an engineer. I'm expecting that we have professionals that look at this stuff and say, if you start with 1,200 square feet, what's to say it doesn't grow to 2,500 square feet, and now all of a sudden that wetland is on my property? There's no guarantee that that doesn't happen, right? I don't think they can guarantee that that won't happen. And as I said, if it floods, I mean, you heard the story about the backyard becoming a lake. So you abandon the existing, you create the new. Now where does that lake go? Right? I'm not an engineer. I expect the experts to do their jobs and to tell you what's happening here. And I don't think they've done that.
One of the principles I think we try to follow is to make sure that when we approve things, that downstream neighbors don't get adversely affected. That's one of our major principles. And this is very analogous to that point.
Okay. And I appreciate the commission hearing me. I will close by saying, I do think there's alternatives here that should be examined before we start looking at moving wetlands. And again, I feel like that creates a dangerous precedent for the commission themselves. And so, again, I really appreciate your time.
Mr. Olson, thank you very much. Is there another neighbor?
Yes. My name is Sabino Iacovone. My wife Jessica Bacigalupi. Iacovone is Iacovone.
Thank you.
My wife Jessica Bacigalupi, also another famous last name. We both live in Dogwood Lane 3. We have sent a letter to Mr. Talamelli, so I want to just summarize briefly our key concerns. We understand very well that the applicant is trying to address the flooding near the house, and we don't oppose that. Our concern is that the proposed solution places a reconstructed wetland just a few feet from our property line, which effectively extends the regulated buffer onto our property. Because of the existing constraints on the opposite side of our lot, this area is our only access for septic maintenance and future replacement, as well as ongoing work to our garage. This is not an optional area, it's essential to maintain our property. The proposal functions as a coordinated drainage system, and it has not been demonstrated that by placing it at the property boundary is the least impactful way to solve the problem, particularly where it introduces new constraints on a neighboring property. We respectively asked the Commission to come up with a revised design, or whoever is responsible for this, the owner of Arrowhead 16, that addresses the drainage issue without placing the wetland and its buffer directly at our property line. A minor shift in location, we believe, would not resolve the issue, as the regulated buffer would still extend into the areas necessary for access and maintenance to our property. I agree with what Sean said about the fact I am not an engineer. I was not prepared to have a debate about this story. But it does seem to me that the only solution we're looking at is moving the wetlands. I would like to see various other solutions before that comes into play. For the record, we have not been approached to to discuss any of this. So I hope that you can take into consideration, our concerns. And I thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Mr. Giacomini, thank you very much
Thank you
for your testimony. Is there someone else who would like to speak from the public? Going once?
I'd like to add,
Please.
just clarify.
Please state your name.
Sumi Ibrahimi. So 2 things I just want to make very clear. The last 2 gentlemen that just spoke, they are not downstream, they're upstream. And if you look at the property, it's severely upslope on both sides. In fact, their properties are partly contributing to our wetlands issue. Michael, who spoke previously, he is actually downstream from our property, and he was supportive of this. The other thing I wanted to mention, I just wanted to reiterate that the so-called wetlands that are there right now, when the house was built, I can't remember the exact year, I want to say 60, 62, that's when they put the drain in. I spoke to the gentleman, the man, he had already deceased at that time. I spoke to his son, and he said that they put that drain and that a pipe led out to the front creek, which is, we have found since, is incorrect. So you're talking about 46 years worth in this little concrete box. You can look at it, you can see it doesn't really hold water. Maybe at that time it just helped what little ponding there was at the time. And over time, it has created a greater depression, 46 years of water accumulating there during heavy rains. And that, you mentioned a tree possibly creating that bowl. It's essentially 46 years causing that depression. And regular lawn maintenance perhaps wouldn't have done that, but when we bought the house, the previous owners had cut down some trees that they weren't supposed to. And so we have been extremely cautious about not breaking any rules. Every tree that has come down, even the ones that, there was one that had fallen on the hill, it was far outside the scope. We made sure that we documented it and said we did not cut this down. We took pictures, etc. So we have been extremely cautious and careful not to break any rules. And under normal lawn care, I think over time, the lawn services would have sort of filled in, prevented that. And so maybe that was a deficit on our part, but we wanted it to be like one plan that was approved. We didn't want to do anything wrong. So that's all. I just wanted to clear it up.
Thank you.
A quick question. Has the house, I haven't looked at your planning and zoning or your building permits. Has the house become larger over the years?
Yes.
How much would you say as a percentage? Like, was the house originally a 2,000 square foot house and?
No, it was larger.
Yeah.
I want to say like 2,700?
I'm sorry, what was
I
that?
want to say 2,700, but I don't remember exactly.
How large is your house now?
Well, we went up,
Mhm.
so that's part of the reason.
You didn't sprawl out?
We did. We sprawled out on the other side,
And
mostly.
How much would you say that was?
I'm sorry, I don't remember. It's been a while since I've looked at the plans.
So that's your impervious area. So this is. So
On the other side.
Yeah, I totally appreciate everything that's going on your property because I actually have that condition. And mine is it's something called a trash pump where I stick it in the lowest depression of my driveway and I pump it to the street so it can fall into a stormwater drain in the event of these significant floods. Because the alternative is it just comes right into my house, right? So I can't control Mother Nature, and you live in a bowl. So we absolutely want you to have a successful outcome. But I think what your neighbors have explained is a very compelling argument. And I do appreciate, just because it helps for someone to give you feedback, I do appreciate the concept of if they're uphill of me, that their sheet flow is coming down to you. It might not be the other way, But we have to look at both sides of that argument still. And clearly, when you look at this map, is you have this topography that's just, you have, I apologize, I forgot the gentleman who was
Michael?
the current
Michael.
or former, yes. You have water that sheet flows, there, you know, Wayne could explain this. 'Cause I think he might have been the guy that explained it to me once upon a time. Is you have water that follows the grade on top, and it's very easy to understand that the water will follow the same grade below. And you have that happening to you as we speak here. So it's an uphill battle for you, and I totally get it, and I understand how frustrating that is.
Right, and I would also say the low quality of the wetlands, it is not ecologically functioning wetlands. I think it's almost like, I don't want to say man-made over time, but it's because that water has sat there. It's lawn, and it's, like,
that's
I
a-
don't even know if it even
yeah.
needs to be wetlands.
And maybe your consultants drill in on that. We've heard that argument many times, so that's kind of a tough argument. When you say 48 years, it's probably thousands of years that those soils have turned into the condition that they are. But we look forward to hearing from you and alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak, commissioners, public? Okay. At this point, Rick, do I need a motion to keep the public?
Excuse me, do we get a chance to rebut?
Of course.
Okay, sorry, just very briefly.
Yes.
Just to touch on a couple of the points regarding one Dogwood, you know, again, where the proposed upland review area would be, would not affect the pool. Again, it's in the zoning setback, so any pool would have to be well outside of that area. And the B100, if it did need to be built, it would be built certainly very, very much like the B100 plan shows. There's not a lot of other opportunity on that property to place it anywhere else. Test holes were in fact done on that property December 31st, 2022. So I mean, that verified it could be placed there, and there's a lot of ledge on that property. You know, a septic wouldn't go really anyplace else. Excuse me. And you know, and again, it is outside of, it would not, this particular, you know, upland review area would not affect that. And you know, this this relocation, just want to reiterate, the relocation is not being done for convenience. It's being done out of necessity and out of deference to recreate wetlands that we unfortunately feel, you know, have to be removed to provide a reasonable, you know, an actual solution that has a chance of working to solve the drainage problem. And just to clarify, a drainage study was done, of course, as you know, and it was reviewed and is continuing to be reviewed by the consultants, so by the peer review consultant of the town. You know, I don't believe, Alexander could probably speak to this better than I can, but I don't believe the wetlands are going to grow significantly, are going to grow beyond what we're proposing, particularly considering those two properties are upgraded significantly from where we're placing the wetland. It's a challenge enough to create the wetland. I think the idea that they're going to just get bigger is probably, you know, I don't think, you know, probable.
Wayne, just for the record, approximately, because I haven't been to the site, what's the uphill neighbor elevation difference?
It's quite a bit. Three Dogwood's probably a good 12 feet higher.
Okay, no.
Yeah, it's higher.
More
Maybe more than that, yeah. It's
20 plus.
Yeah, it's a lot. And regarding Three Dogwood, you know, again, the septic is outside of where the new upland review area would be. They've had access to it historically and, you know, continuously and currently. This would not affect that. You don't need, I'm sure as you know, you don't need to to apply for an EPC permit to pass through to maintenance your septic system. Whatever's been done historically in the past would continue to be done, I would imagine, so I don't think this would affect that in any way. And again, their garage is also outside of the new proposed area, so if they do intend to renovate it, they shouldn't affect anything, they should not need an EPC permit and should, be able to do it just as they are now. And just one last word about precedent. Again, as you all well know, you're going to be reviewing things on a case-by-case basis. You're never going to say, oh, we're going to do it here because we did it there, or we're not going to do it here because we didn't do it there. It's obviously, it's case-by-case. This property has a unique set of circumstances that something coming forward probably would not match. An important point is we're not proposing, the applicant is not proposing anything. There's no new impervious surface being proposed here. There's no increase in runoff from what's being proposed. It's simply managing what has been occurring, what is occurring to the property. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to thank you for your thorough review and all the ideas. And I think I've heard an idea which was very constructive, and I'm very appreciative of it. And I've heard that if we're maybe going to be planting the slope, and maybe if we can just use the catch basin and connect the roof leaders and the patio to the front, that would be some solution which the commission could entertain. I know it is difficult. We spent really many hours on this project, actually days and months. And we need everybody's help and understanding, and we don't want to affect the neighbors. This is not our intention. But at the same time, if your house is flooded, very often you know that you have to protect your house and you have to do something about it. So this is the motion to do something about it, and we are 10 feet from the wetland next to our door. When we open the door to the backyard, basically we walk into the wetland. So it's not easy to deal with it. The soil doesn't cooperate, the hydrology is bad. We really looked into every single other option. So this is all we have, and I hope you can understand this. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Please,
Thank
you have to come up here to.
Yeah. What are the next steps to this? I've never been involved in this, and again, I was not ready for a debate. How does this work? You are going now to review what has been said. What are the next steps that we can take to protect ourselves from what's happening? I disagree with many things that have been said, so I'd like to know how the process works.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
The next step is we're going to make a motion to keep the public hearing open.
Okay.
So at the next scheduled time, you will be noticed that there will be a public hearing at X date. And we will review. The applicant has now heard a number of the commissioners and their comments. They're going to review that, take that all into account, and speak with Rick to perhaps adjust what they're proposing. Okay, and that's all part of the public information. You can get the exact web address from Rick, so you can review all that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then we close. Then at some point we close the public hearing. Okay, at that point, we don't receive any more information from anyone. The commissioners sit down to discuss this, and we come up with our decision. Okay, as to
That discussion is in public.
it's all in public.
There's no discussions that are not within a public venue.
Excellent. What sort of time frame are you guys looking at, roughly? How does this work?
Depends on the next public hearing.
Okay.
Okay, it depends on, when the next public hearing gets scheduled. Rick, what would you say?
Well, it's gotta be in June sometime, so
So,
probably the first
sometime
week.
in June?
Very
So
good.
the applicant can take our advice and come up with other prudent, feasible
Right.
alternatives. Generally what happens, the applicant gets feedback from us, the public hearing will be continued. It sounds like we're gonna make a vote for that.
Right.
So that'll be another hearing. In that time, the applicant's consultants could reach out to you directly via Rick, or however you wanna exchange information along the way. The consultants might need more time to prepare prudent, feasible alternatives.
which means that they may request that the public hearing be extended to another meeting. So it might not be June, it could be July, or they're diligent and they get all their work done and they come back again for the public hearing in June.
See, there's a time schedule that's, that's published when people submit information. It has to be done by a certain date because everyone has to have a chance to review it. So that obviously you're very interested party in this. Well, you have other things going on. You're like, you have to have a period. We have to get it within a certain, was it a week before, something like that, Rick, so that we have a period to look at it, digest it.
Yep.
Okay, and that obviously applies to you. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. You've been very thorough. Thank you very much.
I think actually, I'm sorry. So this is for the benefit of anybody in the town, because all the consultants here already know that. On the town website, there's the planning and zoning and the building department, and there are links to a website called Field Point.
Field Point.
Field Point. You click that link, and immediately it gives you an address or a last name prompt, and you type in that address, that property will pop up. And every single application that has ever been pulled, whether it's planning, zoning, building, the health department, it will populate in that list. For this particular application, there's a code for it. It would be at the top of the deck. You click on it, and all the material that we're seeing electronically here is equally available to you.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you again.
Okay. Anybody else would like to speak? Okay, we will be keeping. Will you make a motion to keep the public hearing open?
I make a motion for EPC 12-2026, 16 Arrowhead Way, to keep the public hearing open and continue to the June meeting.
Second that motion.
All in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the public's comments. They're very helpful for me. Thank you.
Can we take 5 minutes?
Ready?
5-minute break?
5-minute break.
What was that? How do you find that?
Excuse me. I thank everybody for taking the break, 5-minute break. Channel 79, we're back on the air. The next piece of is new business. EPC 18-2026, PL 2670-109 Stephen Mather Road, J. Caulfield and J. Caulfield, to construct residential additions, swimming pool patio, and other related features proximate to the wetlands. The property lies along the north side of Stephen Mather Road, west of Blueberry Lane, approximately 625 feet east of Mansfield Avenue, and is identified as map number 1, lot number 45. The zone is R2, and it's approximately 2.00 acres.
Mr. Chairman, the application has made its way to the agenda this evening for acceptance, meaning to start the statutory time clock to solicit your initial comments and to make a determination as to the necessity of a public hearing.
Okay, so any commissioner have questions or comments on this one? No? Okay. Moving on.
Oh, I have.
Oh, you have a couple?
Yeah, right. Just the operations and maintenance plan, I think, could be a little bit better. It's mainly just a narrative and saying that it needs to be done, and it doesn't really specify what, so I think that could be a little bit stronger. I also had questions whether there would be trees removed, and there's mention that the addition will not have a basement, but will it have a crawl space or will it be on slab? I asked about the trees, and also it doesn't look like there's a pool surround on the site plan. And I'm just wondering, there's a patio adjacent, but there's no surround, and I'm just.
What do you mean by surround?
Well, you know, like how, you know, those
Coping?
concrete, yeah, yeah.
Patio.
So I just wanted to double check on the setbacks, which is, it says 35 feet, if that's sufficient? And the Coltex are for the driveway runoff only, and I was wondering if there's for the pool, the patio, and the addition, how that, whether runoff how that runoff will be handled. And that's all I have.
Anybody else? Okay. Next item of business is EPC 19-2026, PL 26-72, 301 Mansfield Avenue, R. Crane, to construct residential additions, patio, pergola, and other related features proximate to the wetlands and watercourses. Property lines along the west side of Mansfield Avenue, approximately 475 feet south of Middlesex Road, and is identified as map number 6. Lot number 147 is zoned as R2 and is approximately 2.10 acres.
Mr. Chairman, the application has made its way to the agenda for acceptance, meaning to start the statutory time clock and to solicit any initial comments you may have, and finally, as to make a determination as to the necessity of the public hearing.
Any commissioner have questions or comments?
I do not.
No?
Same, similar questions. Will there be loss of any significantly sized trees? What is the total increase in impervious surface? And they need a planting plan.
Also, that property is awfully wet. That was sold, what, 3 or 4 years ago? And so,
I can answer.
pardon?
I'm the homeowner, I can answer that question if you want to. Exactly.
Oh, no, it's not, right now, we're just accepting,
To start the time clock.
to
Yeah.
start it because we have 66
Okay.
days or something like that to do it. So, but thank you. I thought it was a good person. So,
Thank you.
the property, okay, yeah, the perk test for all that, because it's a very high water table there. Anybody else have anything? No? See you next month.
I think that impervious surface coverage is in the application,
Okay,
so I think it should be in there. But
Great.
if it's not, we'll make sure it gets in there. Thank you, guys.
okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, EPC 20-2026, PL 26-73, 373 Middlesex Road, J. Marin and T. Marin to install a fence proximate to the wetlands and watercourses. The property lies along the west side of Middlesex Road, approximately 1,100 feet south of Hanson Road, and is identified as map number 9. Lot number 85, the zone is R2 and is approximately 1.16 acres.
Mr. Chairman, the application has made its way to the agenda this evening to start the statutory time clock based on acceptance, solicit any initial comments, and to establish if a public hearing is warranted on the application.
Yeah, I had a question. They want to put a fence in. Most of it is outside the regulated area. How much is in the regulated area, in your estimate?
Relative, like maybe 20%, if that.
20%, and it doesn't get near the wetland.
It's not in the wetland, it's fairly distant from the wetlands in the upland review area.
Okay. Is this a candidate for agent approval?
I'd like to do a little more study on it, but perhaps, yes.
Okay.
On the site map, it doesn't even look like it's in the upland review area, because it looks like where they showed the photograph where they wrote on it, it looks like it's right behind the shed, which is clearly outside of the upland review area.
There's a substantial portion, and they have to, one of the items they have to do is advance their site survey, is that substantial portions, if you're looking at to the left-hand side, is outside of the upland review area. If you went equal to the fence where they want to, in a straight line, it would peek in within the upland review area. They may have put up a temporary thing more than 50 feet away on the right-hand side. But, yeah, so it's not substantially within the upland review area. They had the wetlands reflagged.
Okay, well,
Oh,
you, anyway, you think if it should be an agent approval, I'd be up for that. Okay, to, the next item of business is EPC 21-2026, PL 26-74, 7 Stony Brook Road, C. Arnold and S. Boland, to construct a pool, patio, and related features in and approximate to wetlands, watercourses, and special flood hazard areas. The property lies along the west side of Stony Brook Road, approximately 175 feet north of West Avenue, and is identified as map number 19, lot number 13. The zone is R1, and it's approximately 1.07 acres.
I'd like to previous 3 applications. It's on for acceptance this evening, starting that statutory time clock to establish if a public hearing is warranted for this application, and finally to solicit any initial comments you may have.
Anybody?
No.
No. Okay, yeah, no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. My initial opinion is if they move things around a little bit, they could take things out of the upland review area, stuff like that, and wouldn't have to really come to us, or it'd be an agent approval. But I think there's alternatives here that I'm looking towards besides what they want to do.
Part of it that aren't they taking up a patio or some blacktop or something
Mhm.
that's in the upland review?
Yeah.
No,
No?
no. They're expanding the patio, and the pool's very long and narrow.
Right, but no, to the right of that on the site plan. It looks like they're ripping, I'll find it and show you.
All right.
I just had questions about tree loss, and they need a landscape plan, planting plan. Yeah, it's.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just gonna show.
Okay, I was waiting for you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, no.
Yeah, no, those are.
Okay, going to old business, EPC 04-2026 PL 26-2, 17 Nickerson Lane, M. Ross, K. Ross, to construct a pier, ramp, floating dock, and other related features in approximate to Holly Pond and other areas of resource. The property is identified. The property lies along the south side of Nickerson Lane, approximately 800 feet west of Nearwater Lane, and is identified as map 52, lot number 9, zone is R1, and is approximately 0.0799 acres.
Mr. Chairman, as outlined in the draft resolution, I'll remind you that the application had been received in February of this year, upon a determination that the development of the dock would be in the public interest and may have a significant impact. A public hearing was held. The public hearing was held on April 8th, in which we solicited substantial testimony from not only the applicant, but it was the opportunity for the abutters to speak out to important issues ranging from consistency with the overall site development plan that's being proposed for the property, or had been proposed for the property, to drainage, water quality, wildlife impacts, etc. On the completion of the testimony, the public hearing was closed, and I was directed to draft a resolution for consideration.
Okay, the members of the commission have received the draft, been able to look at it. Any questions or comments? Anybody? No?
I just had those few tiny little typo comments.
Okay,
Thank you.
we appreciate them. Do you want to make a motion to
Mhm.
approve?
I make a motion to approve EPC 04-2026, 17 Nickerson Lane.
Second that motion.
All in favor? Okay. Moving on, EPC 05-2026 PL 26-6, 20 Driftway Lane, J. Wilcox and Sue Wilcox to maintenance dredge portions of a private pond. The project affects wetlands, watercourses, which is Tokenie Brook, special flood hazard areas, and upland review areas. The access to this parcel lies along the east side of Driftway Lane, approximately 1,300 feet south of Tokenie Road, and is identified as map number 66. The lot is 121. The zone is R1, and is approximately 3.93 acres.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just offer some brief comments. The application is to dredge a portion of this large private pond. It's a very select area up closer to Tokenie Road. Access is being gained over the abutter's driveway. Property owner has acknowledged that and is open to access. Like many of the applications we've seen in the past for dredging, this particular dredging operation will be the same. It would be by suction dredging with a trailer-mounted device, sucking out the sediments, for off-site disposal after going through pumping into a geotextile bag and allowing it to dewater and compress. The property, and significantly the pond is on this one property, very unusual property, has special flood hazard areas, has wetlands, has the large open water pond, has significant slopes, it has ledge outcroppings, it has a dam, it has 2 spillways on it. Wetlands have been flagged under previous applications. So, again, like the prior application we've seen over the past couple of months, suction dredging, water quality controls, and we have requested that the sediment be tested. It was tested, it was found to be within acceptable limits for the big 8 parameters that usually are tested for. And again, because the material will be dried and then removed by site and handled by the contractor, no impacts on flood heights as a result working in Tokenique Brook in the special flood hazard area. Water quality controls are being proposed, and there has been a planting plan for the edge of the space that will be affected by the actual dredging operation.
Matt?
Matt Boat, New England Aquatic Services. Wonderful to see you all again.
Long time.
I think this is my last one for a little bit. Not a whole lot to add. This is just the area directly where the inlet brook enters the pond. Material deposits there first. The homeowner is just being very proactive with kind of the pond maintenance and trying to remove that accumulation now before it gets to really the bad place and starts getting vegetation planted in it and stabilization and things like that. So just removing a couple feet of material from an area of 2,500 square feet. We'll be using the same kind of dewatering tubes that you've seen in the previous applications, with just one smaller bag kind of right next to where we're going to be dredging. Trailer mounted pump with crew members in the water hand suctioning, and we'll pump it to that tube. It'll sit there for a month or 2 and then be hauled off the site. So pretty similar to what you've seen before, probably on the smaller end of that kind of scale.
Questions?
It's lovely.
Okay, you want to write it up? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Matt?
Nice night.
Sorry I had to stay the whole.
It's always nice spending time with you all. So.
All right, moving on, EPC 08-2026 PL 26-14, 53 Norotan Avenue, A. Gold Shoal and B. Gold Shoal to construct residential addition, hardscape, and other related features proximate to the wetlands and watercourses. Property lies along the west side of Norotan Avenue, approximately 150 feet north of Casement Street, and is identified as map 43, lot is 2032, the zone is R1/3, and it's approximately 0.21 acres.
Mr. Chairman, just for acknowledgement this evening, this is for an extension. No action is necessary. The applicant is currently developing responses to the commission's prior requests.
Okay. EPC 10-26 PL 26-1721 Holly Lane, B. Mayhew and J. Mayhew to remove pavement and patios, regrade and landscape proximate to wetlands. The property lies along the north side of Holly Lane, approximately 1,265 feet east of Norotan Avenue, and is identified as map number 9, the lot is 142, the zone is R1, and is approximately 1.05 acres.
Mr. Chairman, again, acknowledgement of a request for an extension or granting of an extension to develop necessary additional information. No action necessary.
Okay, is this a candidate for agency approval?
Most likely, yes. It depends
Okay.
what the response will be in terms
Okay.
of the very limited scope of what the response was.
Okay.
It's to be.
Since there's planting, you can get my approval with Carolyn. Okay, EPC 11-2026 PL 26-27, 12 Locust Hill Road, Espang and Apang to construct a new accessory dwelling ADU, hardscape walls, drainage, and other related features proximate to the wetlands, watercourses, and conservation easement areas. Property lies along the south side of Locust Hill, the access of which lies approximately 450 feet west of Delafield Island Road and is identified as map number 64. The lot is 106B and the zone is R1. It is approximately 1.421 acres.
Mr. Chairman, this item's on for discussion this evening. As you stated that the applicant's proposing to construct an ADU on the property, hardscape walls, drainage, and other related features. The property is currently developed, and it's a fairly recent development of the properties. I think started in 2020, finished up in 2022. For a single-family dwelling, terraces, in-ground pool, driveway, walkways, and drainage and other related features. The site is characterized by the presence of gently to severely sloping developed lands. There are wetlands and watercourses that occupy part of the property. There's ledge outcroppings, many large trees, and portions of the property are designated as a conservation easement. The conservation easement was established as a as part of the original subdivision of the land. Soils were established, the wetland soils, back, I believe, back through 1989, down at the base of the hill, and the watercourse generally drains in this tributary. It drains northeast through southwest and is ultimately tributary to the Goodwise River. Property's not in the flood zone, and again, it had been the subject of prior EPC development applications. The applicant's proposing to construct a small ADU on the property, and it will necessitate the construction of additional utilities, installation of additional drainage to mitigate potential impacts that involve some regrading of the site. Given the nature of the project, typical items are being subject to review to show that the impacts on the regulated areas are minimized, looking at elements such as water quality control, drainage control, and the value of mitigations that have been proposed. But quite a bit of this application relates to working with the difficulties of the site because of the slope and the existence of structures, is how it's going to be phased and the logistics of the project itself. A site development plan was provided. There's no direct wetland watercourse or conservation easement encroachments. Development is confined to the uplands, essentially with underground utilities, grading, stockpile areas. They're no less than 27 feet to the wetlands and 32 feet to the watercourse. There'll be some grade change generally associated with the creation of very limited crawl space in the vicinity of the ADU, and the applicant reports that about 1,555 square feet of the upland review area is going to be temporarily or permanently affected by the construction. The issue of drainage and water quality impacts has been addressed by the project engineer. They have determined that given the increase in imperviousness, that some additional drainage had to be installed based on current assessments, but also what they learned through the prior assessment is that often the soil here is restricted, very shallow to ledge. Therefore, a pipe system is being proposed in combination with a water quality device, a hydrodynamic separator to assist in the collection of sand, silts, debris, etc. The project engineer has done a drainage analysis, and in that analysis, by doing this, the drainage improvements, there'll be no adverse impact on drainage and adjoining properties, and all storms from 2 to 50 years, the steady storms, will be no adverse impact or will be diminished. Water quality measures include erosion control plan, that this hydrodynamic separator. A lot went into the phasing. They're gonna actually do this to try to protect the integrity of the walls and the structures and features. They created pads for pumping concrete trucks from specific areas. The limited access to protect existing perimeter walls. Those are outlined. And then there's water quality controls within the existing drainage system. And again, the hydrodynamic separator. They've gone ahead and have added a planting mitigation plan, is to improve the planted elements along the slope leading down to the wetlands and watercourses, and also working to eliminate invasives and applying a lot of the policy requirements of the commission as they work their way around the site. So the plantings, again, are true native, and again, substitutions are controlled by the landscape designer. They've also made a point of they're required to be irrigated, which I thought was interesting. Not often was that even considered. And then they also talked about applying the organic lawn and landscape requirements. The agenda summary speaks for itself. The applicant is here to provide a presentation and answer your questions. I would only add that if the commission decides to move forward with this, things like restaking the conservation easement, there was prior signage and posts and pins, a lot of them are a little bit in disarray at this point, they just fell over with time, would be a requirement of
Yeah, that makes sense.
of an approval.
I got a quick question for Rick. Rick, have you confirmed, or has zoning already done a preliminary approval that the ADU has met all the ADU requirements? For example, parking, right?
Yes.
You have to add a parking space, it has
Yes.
to be adjacent to the ADU, not look like these are all ADUs, are like a whole new world.
I know that they have worked to a great level of detail with Fred Donite, who really kind of handles the ADUs. I know that they've established an additional parking space. There was quite a bit of discussion about that. I'll let Harry speak to the other items, but I understand that is an ADU qualified kind of structure in terms of compliance.
So because you work with Fred, has Fred soft circled, approved that this ADU has met all the town of
I think
Darien
we'll
ADU
let
requirements?
Mr. Roadfield
Okay.
speak to that.
Good evening, Commission. Harry Roachville for the record, professional engineer, state of Connecticut, with McCord Engineering, representing the applicant Stephen Pang. Before I jump in, I guess I can just answer Mr. Irving's question. Yeah, we've been coordinating with Fred. He's gave us the verbal okay on the parking space we provided and meets all zoning regulations. The application's been submitted, just not formally approved yet. I think they're probably waiting on this commission's resolution, but we have had those discussions with Fred and gotten the okay on the parking space. Just to sort of briefly reiterate what Rick said, subject property is 12 Locust Hill Road. It's located at the south end of the cul-de-sac up there. It's a rare lot. It was built around 2020. We also did that project, as Rick mentioned, that went through the EPC process as well. Wetlands on site are highlighted here in this pink line. They're at the bottom of a steep slope. Upland review area shown here is this pink dashed line. It's already sort of, there's some delineation there already from the previous development. There's a fence sort of at the top of that slope, so there is, some separation between those steep slopes and the developed portion of the property. That'll all be maintained as a result of this project. None of those fences will be removed. What we're proposing to do is a detached ADU here, outlined in yellow. And now that you have the location, I'll switch over to a blow up for you guys. ADU located here. detached from the existing residence. Like I mentioned, there'll be a patio here that'll extend and connect to an existing landing. If the commission has been to the site, there's some steps down from the pool landing, some other steps down to a walk-up basement area. The ADU is designed to work with the existing grade. It'll be built into that slope. Essentially, what the structural engineers are gonna do is find some stable bedrock there. Shouldn't be too deep into the existing ground. There's already some outcroppings shown, so they'll find where they can pin in and just build up from there. So it won't be too much excavation in that area. The drainage we're proposing is right over here. As Rick mentioned, it's a non-infiltrating system, solid pipes due to that ledge presence on site. To meet the town's water quality requirements, also the state's requirements, we're proposing a hydrodynamic separator here that will receive runoff from the patio, runoff from the half of the roof here. It'll all be cycled through the hydrodynamic separator, which will provide the proper water quality flow. Discharged into the underground detention system and then siphoned off, since it is non-infiltrating, into the wetlands, and by siphoning that off, we'll be reducing the peak flow into the wetlands. That'll all be discharged to a riprap outlet here, along with a roof leader from the back of the house, which, as I mentioned, is much lower, so that's unable to be conveyed to any sort of detention measures. So that'll be discharged to the same riprap outlet, along with a footing drain from the front side of the addition. The back side, of course, would be at grade. That riprap outlet will also be located outside the conservation easement, which I should mention is this dashed line here. Erosion controls will be installed in the form of a double row silt fence along the entire perimeter of the construction, as well as the access. That's the orange line here. Construction access will be via the existing driveway. Machines will come over here. I know in the comments we received in the commission's first review, there's some questions on how this would be constructed. We have a note with Fletcher Development here as well, if you have any additional questions for her, but I'll briefly run through what we propose and what has been outlined in our responses to the commission. Essentially, we're going to start with the drainage and work our way back. So the drainage will be installed, all the underground detention systems, the piping, the structures will be installed. Then we'll back out. We'll start, excavating for that bedrock, as I mentioned, determine, where the foundation will be set. And once that's being pinned and formed, concrete struts can set up here and pump via around the house to the foundation area. Once that's formed, there won't be too much reason to go down there anymore. Mostly laborers that can park in the driveway. There will be a construction access maintained just for minis and trucks to get any materials back there. From there, the only disturbance in this area will be connecting the utilities to the house, water service, a pumped lateral from an interior ejector pump, and what else do we have here? And water, and telecom and power, of course. And that ends up being the only disturbance in the upland review area, the trenching of those utilities and the, just the construction access going in and out of there. The ADU is located entirely outside of the upland review area, as well as all the drainage measures. Topsoil stockpile over here by the driveway, a construction material stockpile over here in the front yard, both located outside of the upland review area. That ADU parking space that Fred is located here within the limits of the existing driveway, so no additional drainage would be required for that. The existing drainage system for the house won't be impacted by this project. It's located over here. This is in sort of a different watershed than the drainage that contributes to that drainage system. As Rick touched on, we submitted itemized responses for EPC. I essentially already went over those. We also submitted itemized responses to DPW, which we received no additional comments from Joe Canis. A bulk of the EPC comments were in regard to the wetlands planting plan. Corey with West South's office is here, and he can go over his planting plan as well. That's essentially what we're doing here. I'm happy to answer any questions on the engineering before I turn it over to Corey for the planting plan.
Corey?
Corey Jorgensen from Wesley Stout Associates, we're the landscape architect who completed the plan here. So, just as Harry had mentioned on the site, it's an interesting site. It's very much upland. It's very ledgy, very rocky. And so that was really kind of dictating where we were going with our planting plan. You think of buffer planting and it's not necessarily wetland plants. And so that's what we're focused on. I've highlighted the boulders. There's a lot of boulders that are already really great demarcation up there, so that's good news for us. There's some existing plantings that we would probably keep. There's a number of viburnums and things that we'll keep there that are along the fence line. And then really we wanted to focus on where the water's going to go, right? So just naturally, this is a lawn area in the backyard. Everything kind of funnels down in this direction, the driveway and the lawn. So that's why you see we're removing some of the lawn and the bulk of the planting is down here. Planting up here, we're just really taking advantage of some planting zones, right, where there isn't ledge. And so that's where we're focused on for that. We've really tried to focus on a variety of plants as well, shrubs, perennials, a grass that does really well. If you want to, I can get into specific species if you'd like, but little blue stem is a grass that grows well in the drier areas. It's a native favorite grass, really. It just performs really beautifully. But a mixture of flowering times, shrubs, perennials, again, to maximize our habitat, really, and there's a lot of pollinators in there. Different structures with the shrubs versus the perennials. Some of the shrubs that really spread. We have a chokeberry that spreads well. Again, it's adaptable to the drier areas. The viburnums, same thing. We do arrowwood viburnum. It can grow well up there. Maple leaf, which we can put in more of the shady areas. So that was our goal, right? So we did put the invasive. I did do some invasive analysis there. There's, like most places, there's burning bush, there's barberry. I did keep the potential for some herbicide treatment because there's indications of mugwort and garlic mustard. And like mugwort, you just don't want to get in there and pull it. It'll make your life more miserable. So things like burning bush and barberry, that makes sense to get in there and just pull it out and keep on top of it. But the mugwort, most likely, if it starts to get out of hand, you're going to want a spray regimen.
Can I just ask why? Because I do pull it, and maybe I shouldn't be doing it.
Does it? Because mugwort, it takes just a fraction of a root to really push another one, and so you're never really gonna. You're never gonna catch up to it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's really, as you probably know.
Yeah.
It never goes away. You're just always pulling it.
The garlic stuff, though, that does seem to peter out.
That one's easier, but mugwort is not. I have it at my house, and it is.
Okay, now I know.
I see it now. I see it, and I have a negative reaction to it everywhere I see it.
Is there a hardscape path to get from where the cars park to the ADU?
A hardscape path?
Yeah. How do you?
I could not speak to that because I did not work on that.
Okay.
I just did the buffer planting.
So no hardscape plan. Okay.
Yeah. I just came in to help out with the buffer planting. So overall, that was the goal. I think that it will be it really enhance the edge, right, and help with any kind of runoff. But also, I don't know if you guys have been there, but it's rocky and outcrop, and there's not a lot of going on other than some invasives, which is typically the situation. Any questions?
So will you be working on the invasives that are on the other side of the fence?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
That's where they are. It's just on the other side of the fence.
Okay, so the fence will be coming down or you're just getting over to the other side of the fence.
No, you don't, you can get over to the other side without taking the fence down.
Okay. Yeah, no, I noticed there were a lot of invasives there. And I was wondering, since the ADU is, since the planting plan isn't sort of opposite side of the property from where you're doing the work, why that was, but I understand now from what you said.
Yeah, it's a little deceiving, but if you go back there and you look at how the land kind of sits, it's the boulders actually kind of create a curb.
Yeah.
Right, and so it's really kind of channeling everything down into that zone. So that's where we should probably focus our planting. Plus, this area here really is just a big ledge outcrop that we're not going to do anything with. So.
Yeah.
I just have a couple questions for Harry. So Harry, when you park your car, how do you get to the house? How do you get to the ADU?
They'll probably go through the backyard here, and then there's steps down to it.
Okay, so following the hardscape path that's already existing along the house, which is basically the existing patio. Okay.
Yep.
Is this your home?
No, I'm the builder.
No. Okay.
I'm with the building.
Okay.
But we built the house originally too.
What's the, I'm just out of curiosity, it looks great. Just the question was, did you always plan on there being room for a pool house, and now Darien has an ADU policy? So you said, hey, let's put an ADU here? What's the use of?
Excuse me, if you're gonna answer, you have to come up, identify yourself, please.
Hello, Annette Perry with Fletcher Development. The client actually has a mother who will be staying there, so.
Excellent.
It's in synergy with the house because it's family.
So there was just a eureka moment. You had your coverage and you still had some left over for the ADU and it fit, so it
Yeah,
was
and
just
we
a home
actually looked at 2 or 3 different locations. This one actually took it out of the area, so it's really just the access to get it constructed that was
Great.
really grazing the area.
Does the stem wall go from the under, it's a ADU, it's a 1-story, or maybe a story and a half
Story and a
from
half.
grade up. What's below the structure? Is it stem wall to the ledge?
So it's gonna be like a sloped foundation, so
Right.
it gets pinned on one side and then it'll have like a mechanical access on the other side.
Okay, so it's not stilted, it is like a solid
It is on solid.
structure sitting on the ledge. Okay, looks great, thank you.
Is access to the home via an easement, driveway easement, or what's the nature of the driveway easement? I know there's a utility easement, but there's.
To the existing house?
Mhm.
It's a cul-de-sac and it goes straight through the driveway?
Yeah, according to the map, there's a driveway easement.
Yeah, because it's when it is just part of the subdivision, I think it comes through 14 Locust Hill. I don't have the full subdivision map with me, but that's just all existing to get back there.
Is there a way we can get a copy of the easement?
Sure. I mean, I have subdivision maps. Actually, I might have sent you one. Yeah. You want to just hand it over?
Okay.
No, I mean the easement itself.
I don't have the easement language with
But
me.
is there a possibility we can get the easement language?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's on file with the town clerk. Yeah, you can definitely send that over.
It says driveway and utility
Yeah,
easement,
it's a
so it's
driveway.
really,
Yeah.
Is it a utility easement or is it a driveway easement through an adjoining property?
It's both. It
Yeah.
serves both purposes.
I'd like to see the driveway easement though.
Okay, can I ask for what reason, or?
Maybe there's a restriction about the building lot and
we built all 4 houses
Yeah.
of the
so
subdivision.
you were the developer that.
Yes, Yes.
All right, well,
Yeah, we were the engineer on the.
And there's no shared driveway access, so
No.
the easement is for the benefit of this property with utilities and with the
Right.
driveway, so there's no really sharing
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
the only way to access the site, especially when the subdivision was done, when so much land was given back to conservation easement.
And there's no restriction on it.
So there's no restriction in the easement about the usage of the property or the building of any accessory dwellings or
No.
anything like that?
No.
You're faster on this than I am, but this was an interesting point, just spitballing here. So if I park the car for the ADU where it's proposed on the location, and there's, I think this is where you were going, and there's a easement, whether the question is it germane or not, is if the abutting neighbor has an easement to that location, can they not agree that that's the location to park the car?
You'd almost need to see the easement.
Well, the parking is on the
easement
site.
is just at the mouth of the front, if you see here. It's just a little bit of the curb cut in the front. So the actual driveway and all of that parking area is not part of the
So
easement.
it's really a utility easement because you guys have the underground boxes
Correct.
parked on the curb on the semicircle.
So it's really just that area right here.
Yeah.
But I think, I'm not speaking for Peter, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think you just need to clarify that, like, were you thinking about the car and whether they could put it there? And then
I was
that's
thinking
it?
about
That's
the
it?
car, where they could put it there, how does the easement define the use of the property, whether it's, generally a one-family structure without a different, additional, accessory units? That some easements are written that way.
So I guess, Rick, as long as they're allowed to do that, then, we're not approving a plan that.
I don't want to approve a plan that is in violation of the next-door neighbor.
Yeah, all the work is happening on this sole property, and there's no work happening in the easement. All the parking spaces within the subject property, within the, beyond the front yard setback and outside of the rear yard setback, which meets all zoning regulations.
No, I appreciate it's within zoning, I appreciate, very familiar with ADUs, but easements and covenants can sometimes override zoning, so that's the only reason I'm asking about it.
Sure, happy to dig it up and.
Since she represents the developer, that's easy to get, right?
Yeah, we can get it, we just don't have it with
It should be
us. Yeah.
But and like I said, it's primarily utility, sanitary, and.
I understand, thank you.
Yeah.
Just a couple quick questions. I don't think it was can you just tell me what the size of the ADU is, like square footage wise?
Do you know that off the top of your head?
It wasn't on the site plan.
20, roughly 30 by 25.
Okay. I also have a question about the drainage. So I think you had mentioned, Harry, that the 4-inch pipe that goes to the level spreader, that's a footing drain?
Yeah, so there'll be a wall drain behind the,
Right. But I'm talking about, so see there's like a footing drain that's like already at the, like on the slope going down?
Oh, this one, the
Yeah.
existing one?
Yeah, existing.
Okay, yeah, that's for the main house.
Right, so that's the footing drain for the main house, and then
Correct.
the back part of the ADU will just go to, I think it goes to the grade.
Yes.
And then the detention system that you put in goes to the riprap, and it's all kind of on that hill. My question is, with all of this, water, and I know it's metered out and everything, but how close is that to the neighboring property, and is that of any concern?
It's just, there's no neighbor over here, that's like an acre plus of conservation
The neighbor
easement.
that's like to the, I don't know what direction
It's
that is.
elevated.
Yeah.
Yeah, this house is far elevated, and everything drains this way,
Okay.
which I believe
Okay,
is
that's
west
what I wanted.
towards.
Yeah, it's an interesting
Andrews Drive.
topography. It's a little disorienting when you're trying to get your bearings.
Yeah, this law was, I think when they did the subdivision design like that, they sort of set it up, and then, you're sloping all the way away from the property in all directions, and then same thing going this way, and then you go back up to the
Yeah,
neighborhood. think
So
it's
my,
10.
my point is just I want to make sure that with all of this water going
Mhm.
down, this runoff, and the water being metered out, that it's not in any way affecting the neighbor.
Nope, not at all. And our drainage report, concludes that there'll be less water going that way as a result of the detention systems.
Okay. That's all I have.
Just a quick question, what was the square footage of it?
30 by
750 square
Yeah, I
feet.
think it's like 750, 800 plus 20
Oh,
by
okay, I
35.
thought he said 3,500 and I,
No,
yeah.
30 by
30 by
35.
35.
Okay.
Then we would have
So
problems.
I'm like,
with
no,
that.
there's a max here.
No.
That was all.
Anything else?
Not for me, no.
No? Okay. Thank you very much. Rick, you want to write this one up?
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good job.
Appreciate it.
Okay, moving on. EPC 13-2026, PL 26-33, 43 Blueberry Lane, R. Sinclair and A. Sinclair to remove trees, repair a fence, and install native plantings and conduct other related activities in approximate wetlands. Property lies along the west side of Blueberry Lane, approximately 1,175 feet south of Oxbridge Lane, and is identified as map number 7, lot number 34. The zone is R2 and is approximately 1.44 acres.
Mr. Chairman, as you'll note in the draft resolution, a public hearing was not required for this applicant to consider the merits of the application. It was accepted in March, and a meeting was held in April, which the information had been supplied by the applicant in response to your questions and concerns and what staff had identified as potential issues. Upon the completion of that testimony, the staff was directed to draft a resolution.
The members of the commission have received copies of the resolution. Any questions or comments?
No.
No?
I just have a few that I sent to you.
Good, yeah, thank you.
Typos.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve EPC 13-2026, 43 Blueberry Lane.
Second that motion.
All in favor? Thank you. Moving on, EPC 14-2026, PL 26-34, 74 Pembroke Road, M. O'Connell, S. O'Connor, to construct and/or expand a driveway, turnaround patio, pergola, and other related features approximately the wetlands and watercourses. Property lies along the south side of Pembroke Road, approximately 575 feet east of Salisbury Road, and is identified as map number 01, lot number 98. The zone is R2 and is approximately 1.280 acres.
Mr. Chairman, the application was not subject to a public hearing. It was accepted in March, and the application was vetted at the April 8th, 2026 meeting. And the applicant provided testimony concerning the pertinent issues to the wetlands and watercourses and landscapes and drainage and water quality. And upon the completion of that testimony, the staff was directed to draft a resolution for your consideration.
All the commission members received a copy of the resolution. Any questions or comments by the commissioners? No. Okay, may I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve EPC 14-2026, 74 Pembroke Road.
Second that motion.
All in favor? Moving on, EPC 17-2026, PL 26-51, 350 Middlesex Road, M. Marshall and C. Marshall, to construct a residential addition, drainage, and other related features approximate the wetlands watercourses. Property lies along the east side of Middlesex Road, approximately 700 feet north of Roy Avenue, and is identified as map number 6, lot number 169A. The zone is R1 and is approximately 1.00 acres.
Mr. Chairman, the application, as you noted, is to construct certain residential additions, drainage, and other related features on this property. It's currently residentially developed and includes the dwelling, drive, walkway, sheds, drainage, and other related features. It's currently served by sanitary sewers and public water. The site is characterized by the presence of gently sloping developed lands, wetlands, a narrow watercourse, and several large trees, predominantly in the extreme eastern portions of the site. Wetlands were flagged. There were wetlands to the north, on and just off the property. And also there's a fringe along the edge of the watercourse that generally flows north to south, through the residential, through this property and through other adjoining residential properties. Not in the special flood hazard area. So the construction will involve some relocation of existing facilities such as a generator and propane tanks, installation of new drainage, abandonment of existing pipe discharge to the brook, and minor site regrading. Important issues happen to be looking at minimizing the impacts on the wetlands and water courses, drainage, water quality impacts, and the value of mitigation proposal in terms of enhancing, displacing lawn, enhancing the conservation values of the regulated areas and property. The project engineer did a site development plan, includes the garage additions, drainage, the features are no less than 17 feet to the edge of watercourse, in areas that are currently held, occupied by certain mechanicals and lawn, or an existing gravel parking space. Grade change is low, not expected to exceed 1 foot. No larger individuals or groups of trees of value or size are impacted by the development. There are no direct wetland or watercourse impacts. About 1,500 square feet of the upland review area will be temporarily or permanently affected. There has been a drainage report and a drainage plan that's been proposed for the site. Increase in impervious surface about 1,350 square feet. Of course, if left unmitigated, with potential for impacts on drainage. To mitigate that impact, the project engineer has developed and is managing certain post-construction watersheds and is applying some structured drainage consisting of some very low-profile concrete galleries. Test holes have been completed. The peer reviewer has reviewed it and has not only endorsed the design, but the impact analysis on drainage and water quality. For all storms, the engineer has confirmed that there'll be no adverse impact on drainage. Certain other additional water quality measures, erosion control plan, drainage equipped with deep sumps and outlet controls. They're seizing on soil's ability to treat runoff and cool runoff by promoting infiltration, and extra existing point discharge to the brook will be abandoned in place, and staff, of course, would recommend that it's removed in total. The planting mitigation has developed to remove lawn grass, filter the runoff, and to enhance the conservation values of the property. Those plantings that they're installing are true native, and the planting plan includes the policy recommendations that the agency has put forth. The applicant has addressed the topics concerning two alternatives, and has basically said that they looked at placing the garage on alternative places on the property would involve additional wetland encroachments to off-site wetlands, and they emphasize the positive attributes of the plan that removes lawn, mitigates drainage impact, and includes a pretty extensive planting plan for the space along the brook in the fringe wetland, where currently there are really no plantings at all.
I think Rick took care of it. Thank you very much. No, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Avon Bauer. I'm a professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. I'm here on behalf of Matthew and Courtney Marshall for their property at 350 Middlesex Road. So like Rick mentioned, there's a wetland brook that kind of runs from the north to the south right here, kind of sort of bisecting the property. It's pretty heavily wooded out through on the east side over here. but the west side is where all the activity is going to take place. That's where the existing residence is. So it's an existing single-family residence with a small attached garage, and this house actually doesn't have any kind of basement storage or anything of that nature. They have a crawl space that's about 2 feet below, just because of the wetlands in the area. It's really just to access the mechanicals underneath. So what they were looking to do is add a new garage and a building addition off the back with some expanded patio areas to create a little more living space and storage space for their house. As Rick mentioned, the total proposed impervious surface is about 1,350 square feet. Right around 800 of that is proposed within the upland review area. And the vast majority of it is this one bay garage that they're gonna do, which currently sits, right now what it is, it's a gravel parking area that sits pretty much directly adjacent to the wetland. They're putting the garage almost entirely over that gravel parking area, adding just a small amount of asphalt driveway from where that gravel driveway currently is, just to, kind of bring a consistency with the rest of the driveway. And, just kind of taking advantage of all the existing impervious and putting something back over there. As it currently stands, there's a pipe that's discharging the roof leaders to from the house about 5 feet off the wetlands. Our proposal is not only to collect the new increase in impervious surface, which is 1,350, we're actually collecting just shy of 2,200 square feet, more than half the existing residents, as well as the new portions of the residents that we're able to pick up as well. We received approval from Joe Canis on 4/27, and we're proposing a double row of silt fence down the gradient with silt fence in protected stockpile areas and mud tracking pad throughout. The drainage system sits off to the side. There's an existing playscape right here, and this kind of pushes it down a little bit further away, so we're able to kind of maintain the lawn with the least amount of disturbance. Don't have to reestablish a new play area. Excuse me. And one of the other big mitigation measures we're doing is there's a pretty extensive planting plan that was prepared by Alexandra Mock. So this is the existing gravel driveway that the new addition is going over. These are the 2 propane tanks that are going to be relocated off to the other side of the property. And then along the brook, there's about 700 square feet of basically just grass that's leading right into that brook. That's all being taken away and replaced with these mitigation plantings, not only on the side that we're impacting, but on the other side as well, where there is a little bit of space in between those trees. They're all true native plants. It's a mixture of small trees and shrubs, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the dogwoods and pepper bush. And what that really is going to do is, along with the boulder demarcations that are proposed throughout, it's going to create a very clear delineation buffer of that wetland area and, kind of keep it that way in perpetuity so there's no further encroachment. I think that's about all I have for now, and I'm here to answer any questions should you have them. Thank you for your time.
I just have 2 questions. One is, can you just point, using Alexandra's planting plan, where does the driveway access the proposed garage?
So the driveway is this dash line right here. So that's this is the asphalt portion going into the garage. And then this is the gravel portion that they're using as a parking area right here with the generator pad as well. This is where the new addition is proposed, the garage bay.
Where's the driveway lead to the street?
Driveway comes up over through here and then right here. And then it loops around the front of the property. It's a
I
little
see
more
this. I see. Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's a horseshoe driveway in the front that leads around the back to the garage that was constructed with the original house.
Just like thinking of it like an intersection, what is the dimension of that square of driveway that connects to the house?
This you're saying, the
Yeah,
backyard
what is
area?
the size of that box?
If I'm not mistaken, I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's somewhere around, seeing it on here, from here to here is about 40 feet, plus or minus. Very
Sure.
typical of a pretty standard back out. It's a little larger, but not egregiously large.
I mean, I think the town, do you know what the town zoning minimum requirement is? Is it 24?
So the town regulates for parking spaces in a parking lot, and yeah, that is 24. I can say that 24, when you're going into a garage, when you're in a parking space, usually you have a little more room to swing. When you're going into a garage, it's harder to make that radius into an 8-foot garage bay. as opposed to a 9-foot parking spot.
So mine's, I think when I built my house, planning and zoning said, we want to see the depth of 24 feet to
Sure.
get in and out of my two-bay garage, right? So I know I have 24, 27 feet. Is there a way to mitigate the size of that, particularly where it's close to the wetland?
We may be able to, just with the garage bay, we can maybe square this off a little bit more. You know, for instance, it comes, as I said, further out over here. We may be able to kind of bring this a little bit straighter, but because of the existing utility pads that are already over here, it's hard to bring this driveway any closer to the house and away from this particular area here. It would make it very difficult to function because then you're turning into the garage very quickly.
Again, I apologize, is there an actual is there a driveway plan? Do you show on plan where all your catch basins are?
So
and the pitch of the driveway to the water course?
We're keeping all of that exactly as it exists right now. So the only thing that's happening is this area of gravel right in here to access this garage bay is becoming asphalt. And then this area through here is being removed, the little bit of additional gravel parking area that they have.
Is there a curb, are you installing a curb to stop the runoff of hot water into the wetland?
No, we're not proposing any detention for the driveway itself, just the new surfaces.
What about just the hot water runoff into the wetland?
What do you mean the hot water? Like,
Well,
like when it rains and
the
stuff? I see
asphalt
what you're
bakes
saying.
at 150, 200 degrees, it rains, it hits that, and then it scours
Sure.
into the wetland and changes the temperature of the ecosystem.
Yeah, so we weren't really proposing anything for that because we're not altering the driveway in this case.
Well, I think you need to take that in consideration. Second piece is do you have, do you have a actual, this is where I like the idea of having hard demarcation lines. Because you have close proximity to a water course and you actually have an activity like a car and all the operations associated with having a driveway. Is there a boulder demarcation where the driveway is as it abuts the wetland?
Yes, so if you see.
I see black dots. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, those black dots are called out as the boulder demarcation. So they run right along the back of the driveway over here and then kind of are scattered throughout the wetlands right adjacent to the plantings that we're
And
proposing.
how big are those boulders?
They're not really specified, but we can certainly make sure they're two-man boulders, meaning two people need to pick them up.
I would agree with that. Yeah, that's all I have. Oh, actually, Rick, are we gonna, I apologize, are we gonna get can we actually get a plan that shows the proposed and the landscape on the proposed plan? I mean, we're looking at an existing plan. This here is existing.
That's proposed.
Well, yeah, well, it's technically proposed, but
He's saying the impervious overlay with the landscaping as well, is that correct?
Right, all your construction, I'd like to see, I would consider this to be incomplete. Your proposed construction is not on this plan. You're describing it as you're presenting to us.
Sure, no, I understand. I apologize, it was a bit of a timing issue as far as getting it into before your deadline. But yeah, the proposed is.
Respectfully speaking, I would have accepted your submission because I would consider this incomplete.
I understand. But yeah, they were kind of two separate facets that were happening at the same time, so I understand what you're saying. But yes, we can assure for the future, we'll make sure we have any planting plans show the proposed conditions
Well,
as well.
I would just say, get it all
Yes,
on one
absolutely.
sheet of music. Thank you.
No questions?
So I just want to confirm that there's currently a 2-car garage and it's being expanded to a 3-car garage?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And on the, in the underground detention, it looks like half of it's in the upland review area and half of it is outside of it. Is there any reason why that can't be shifted out of the upland review area?
The main reason is the topography of the property. So being that this is a very wet property and there's a lot of wetlands in the area, the soil restrictions were very, very shallow.
Okay.
So if you start from a higher elevation, in order to maintain through the course of that drainage system, the same elevation above a restrictive layer, the system has to come up, at which point we wouldn't be able to really pick up the new part of the garage by gravity and drain it in.
Okay, so there's a reason.
There is, yes, yeah, no, I pulled it back as far as I possibly could,
Yeah.
but while still meeting the drainage standards.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering about that. I thought that your operations and maintenance plan was really good. I also you had a very nice maintenance log for the homeowner. I thought that was good.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
With regard to the planting plan though, like my concern here is the water course it's like the lawn almost goes through the water course. Like
Sure,
there's no
yeah.
defined banks to the water course.
Agreed.
Grass goes right up to and almost through it. And
Yeah.
I can appreciate the boulder demarcation and the shrubs that have been planted in that part of it. But I guess I would almost rather see like the whole thing lined with rocks on either side of the whole length of it, just to kind of better define it and maybe ground cover, because right now the lawn, anything that's put on the lawn goes right into that
Yes, yeah,
water
that I
course.
understand.
And I know it seems kind of like inconsequential on this property, but it does go through other properties and it does,
Sure,
I think it
of
goes
course.
into the Stony Brook, eventually.
Ultimately, yes. it was.
Yeah, so, I mean, is there any way that we could, put some kind of a buffer on, the length of that, I mean,
Yeah.
the only opportunity we have to get people to do this is like when they
Yeah, no,
come
I totally
before
understand
us,
why you're
and
asking. yes.
otherwise we can't like go out and ask people, to do this. So, that would be my only ask, is just that I love the planning plan. I think, it's all great, but I would almost rather see less intensified planting there,
Sure.
but, more along the whole brook.
So you kind of mentioned two things there. You said like like stone along the side. I imagine you're referring to like almost like a riprap channel to kind of define the stream
Well, I
sides.
mean,
Because the
I
only
wouldn't do
concern,
that.
what, you wouldn't?
No.
that's what I was gonna say. The concern I have with that is one, maintenance. Two, you're taking what's currently mature vegetation and basically opening it up to being scoured away when you do that kind of
But
stuff.
it's grass. There's no I mean.
No, I understand that. What I'm saying is I would go away from the gravel and maybe allow it to be a more, like a native planting grass, like that grows a little higher as opposed to like a manicured lawn.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because
okay.
the roots will help with the root stabilization of the slope and all.
My concern is just that I want something to filter any
Totally
nutrients
understand,
and whatever on the lawn going into the water course.
Yeah, I think we can.
On both sides.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously I prefer not to do anything in between the mature trees on this side to damage the root structure.
Right, okay.
But I think we can continue something like that down further over here if that's what
Okay.
you're looking for. Either with the plantings and like basically in between the plantings, we can propose like a native seed mix.
Okay.
That would be somewhere in that area.
Yeah, just I want some kind of a filter going because like I said,
Yeah,
right now
absolutely.
it just like it's the grass almost just goes right
It's literally,
through.
it's manicured lawn basically and then it drops off very quickly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand exactly what you're
Yeah,
saying.
so that would be my ask, I guess.
Yeah, I think we'd be amenable to that, absolutely.
And then that's it. Otherwise, I think it's great.
Thank you.
I'm all set.
You're all set? Okay. What should we do? Should we write up a draft resolution pending his submission of materials? Or you don't feel comfortable?
This is the as-built with the, I think the planting pad, I think the proximity of the wetland to the structure is so close that the plan should be correct, and then it should be approved. Well, I'll default to you guys.
Would it be possible to do that as a condition of approval for enhancement? I recall a couple months ago, we did add an additional planting buffer
Yeah.
for 1 Pilgrim Road under similar conditions.
Well, we also asked for you to, what I'm gonna say, I think I'll default to Rick on this, is I think some credence should be given to the driveway. They're enlarging the driveway, or the garage.
Yeah.
And you have a large driveway that, there's nothing here that tells me that all that water isn't just hot water isn't just sheet flowing into the wetland. And that's a huge issue for us, so.
But
I
again,
think
with
that-
the ground cover and stuff, that's gonna help a little.
Yeah, we can
Well, I think
expand
there
the
should be a
plantings up
curb,
that
maybe
direction.
there's a
as well.
catch basin, maybe they change the pitch, maybe they need a new driveway. I've suggested that they need to maybe decrease the size of the drive. You don't need 40 by 40 to get a car into a garage, I can assure you of that. So I think there's some work to be done, and maybe it needs to come back to the commission or Rick approve it.
I would certainly push for Rick to be approval. And, as you can imagine,
I know you would. Surprise.
I have nothing against you. I like seeing you guys, but you understand. But yeah, I mean, I think we can enhance the buffer plantings to go on both sides. The only thing I worry about with the catch basin is just I'm looking at the grading now.
Oh, great.
It's very difficult to get that by gravity over to the drainage system. Particularly if we had a curb now, we're kind of blocking and going to have water pooling right into their garage and driveway.
Yeah,
What about like putting, like Belgian block or something?
well, that's what I mentioned earlier is.
Yeah, but again, that's what happens is you wind up, if you put Belgian block on the down gradient over here, you can put a catch basin in, but I don't know that I really have a lot of pitch to be able to get this over into the drainage system to function.
But wouldn't the Belgian block, if it were high enough, to Michael's point, keep the water from sheet flowing into the?
But then it's just gonna pond on the driveway if it doesn't have anywhere to go.
Oh, I see.
That's the
Well,
issue.
I'm
And
gonna
then
tell
if it
you-
eventually we'll go into
I'm gonna tell you that I have an issue if you're happy with all the water sheet flowing off the driveway directly into the wetland, then I'm
I
gonna vote
understand.
no on an application.
I wouldn't say that I'm happy with it, but as I said, we're not really altering that area. We weren't really proposing to
But
repave or
you're-
reconfigure
just
the
to be
driveway.
clear, you're adding garage space, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so again, giving you really clear item to work on is you're gonna have to work on the driveway and where all the water sheet flows, because I don't want it going directly into the water course. Similarly, I don't want you stockpiling snow up into the water course.
Sure.
So give it some thought, think about your drainage, come back and tell us what you got.
Would it be possible to explore the option as a condition of approval to add the catch basin, some sort of catch basin to the detention system, even for just water quality purposes for the driveway area that's tributary to it?
Well, on top of this, I'm gonna go back to the piece that I'm looking at a landscape planting plan that is plants on a map of a proposed, of the existing site that doesn't demarcate the proposed. I mean, you just agreed with me earlier that you really don't have completed a plan deck. So
I would argue that
what
it
am
is
I
complete.
signing off on? I'm not trying to make a meal out of this, it's late.
I would argue that although, yes, I understand for clarity, it would be better to have both on there, but it is complete and it is very, to me, it's very obvious where the plantings are not going to be interfering with the proposed conditions and still provide that buffer landscaping. They are kind of related, but they are technically two separate issues, the planting versus the impervious area. Excuse me.
I don't think that's germane, is you have impervious surface area and you have plantings.
I understand. I get it.
Okay.
But again, I would ask for these things to be addressed as a condition of approval as opposed to coming back if possible.
I don't know, I think he needs to come back.
I'm gonna defer on this one.
What do you mean you're gonna defer?
I'm not gonna make a decision on it.
You want him to come back or not?
I
Or,
mean-
here's the decision. He does these changes that Michael suggests and comes back and presents to us. Or we leave it as a condition of approval that Rick takes a look at it, representing our interests, and would approve it.
I mean, I think you understand what his
I think we can
concern is.
absolutely do something. I don't know that I can get into this drainage system, but I do think that there may be something that we could do for at least maybe water quality for a portion of the driveway, in particular the area close to the
Right,
wetlands.
because I mean, maybe like, being on the spot, he's not like thinking like what he could do, but like maybe like
Yeah,
tomorrow
I
he'll
don't
wake
want
up
to kind of
and,
go through the design process.
Like it'll,
right?
he'll have some idea.
But I think
mean,
there is something that can be done for sure.
I think I would be comfortable with making it a condition.
I would appreciate that, yes.
I like both.
You gotta
options.
say something.
The condition is fine.
Switzerland.
So Rick, a condition that the driveway, that 40-foot square box approximately, that decreases. 2, that the runoff from the driveway goes someplace not directly into the water course. It's the engineer's job to, if he has to install a whole new stormwater management system to have a new garage as it relates to the driveway, then so be it. 3 is the demarcation. It looks like they have the boulders there, the buffer that, cars and salt and chemical or whatever isn't scouring into the water course, and that Alexandra's planting plan is actually on the site plan that they're asking for approval.
And we're extending it in some,
And
extends
Yes.
Correct.
Beyond, further to the south
Yeah.
and along the wetland.
On
as well,
both
the drive.
sides.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
both sides, yes.
And maybe Carolyn has to
This,
approve.
this side, as I mentioned, I want to
And
use
Carolyn has
it.
to approve the planting.
Okay.
I'll run it by her.
Okay.
All right. I think we have to come to a consensus.
I agree.
I
appreciate
with
that very
the conditions, so you're happy, but you've got a lot of homework.
Yeah.
I don't mind homework. I'm an engineer. I went through 4 years of very grueling school. Thank you very much, Commissioners. I do appreciate
Okay,
your time.
good night. Okay, moving on, we have the approval of minutes. Everybody should have a copy of the April 8th, 2026 public hearing and regular hearing. Any questions or comments? No? May I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the public hearing and regular meeting of the EPC on April 8th, 2026.
Second that motion.
All in favor? Okay, moving on, other business. Oh, one of our favorites. APC 29-24, PL 24-162, 3 Seagate Road, J. Liang. We have an update.
I actually think we should close the meeting for tonight, since you, one poor soul. This is on for just an advisory circumstance. And if you recall, we spent better part of a year reviewing Mr. Yang's.
I don't want to repeat this.
Yes. Reviewing a proposal to replace the small vehicular bridge that crosses this narrow water course. And there was quite a bit of debate about how to do the crossing, what would the result be, hydraulic impact, et cetera, dewatering. Ultimately, it was determined they were going to do a cast-in-place bridge, build abutments. They were going to do a bunch of excavation. There was a dewatering plan. It was a temporary bridge. And the duration of this project would be in the months that he would be without any access to his property. But ultimately, the commission approved it. The engineering firm that designed it and gained the approval went out of business. And the owner calls and said, what am I supposed to do? Because he needed the supervision of the engineer to implement. One other big thing was the bridge that was designed had limitations associated with it. It could not support anything more than a typical pedestrian vehicle,
Right.
a regular vehicle.
Right,
as
like
opposed
that,
to-
there was gonna be a sign posted saying,
and
yeah.
and both the building department and the fire marshal goes, well, we have to post it then,
Yeah.
say it has limitations. So we had the homeowner trying to develop a very necessary crossing, his only crossing to get to his house. And he had a plan that was probably a bit overwhelming for the site and with not all the benefits that could be obtained. New engineer, D'Angelo, was brought in to oversee the implementation, and like many of the commission members at the time, and myself, that said, why don't you do a box culvert? And here are the benefits. Less expensive, the duration of the project goes from 3 months to a few weeks, a day to demolish, a couple days to prepare. You can do some alternative dewatering that will allow you to essentially dig in the dry.
But weren't there all those other approvals that were required, like by DEEP and the Army
No.
Corps of Engineers?
No,
Not in this case.
Okay.
But also with the box culvert, once you plop it in, he got his H20 loading, so he can drive at a very short duration. He can drive the trucks, the ambulances, the fire engines over without being concerned about it. So we decided that, maybe just to keep you in, and it was thoroughly vetted with no hydraulic impact at all. The opening was sized appropriately. We brought in Joe Canis again to review the alternate drainage report and plan, the drainage statements and plans, and he has agreed that it's an appropriate alternative. And because there's less encroachment with this than what was originally proposed, less disturbance, less duration, less potential for impact.
So those abutments are gonna stay in place?
No.
They're coming out.
The existing stone abutments,
They're all out.
they're taking it out, they're gonna prepare to take the bridge
And
out.
it's not affecting that neighbor at all?
No, not
And then-
hydraulically, but I'll let Mr. DeAndrea,
It's gonna be way better than what was before.
Yes.
It's Legos. It's like,
Yeah.
like that.
Is here okay? I have to go there.
That or
I think you're
Oh,
okay.
you're fine, you're
Okay.
nice and loud.
I don't know if I should apologize for being here, but Mr. Talamelli said it correctly. We were brought into this for a couple of reasons. Onaman just abruptly shut their door. Their office was right next door. The contractor, white contractors, we know very well from the Greenwich, Stanford area. And he talked to me about this project as well. We got a number of calls from Onaman, so we were trying to be selective, but this was one too that we said, well, as the white contractors, why are we doing this? This is so complicated. And not only that, when you look at the detail, leaving the abutments in place, what makes us think they're so good and what makes us think they go down to the proper depth and have a footing? And if they did, then you have to excavate behind it and then saw cut the bottom of the footing, then form it, and like Rick said, it would take certainly a couple of months at least, because then even if you did form those forms for the new abutments, you have to leave them in place for a bit, you have to strip them. It's a big process. My own house, and Mr. Talamelli knows it as well, I had the same kind of crossing, much larger. Didn't think twice about it, box culvert. The beauty of it, as he said, was you quickly prepare it, you throw the gravel down. These things are thick, they're heavy, they're 7,000 pounds each, and we need 3 sections to make the length. And once they put in and nestled in, they're there. And then you can literally walk and drive across it once you fill in.
Will the fire engine or
The fire truck.
a fire truck or
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
garbage truck be able to go across these?
Yeah, these are stout. They're precast, concrete reinforced. There's no problem with the loading. And that was certainly a drawback after all that time and expense and aggravation.
You're
then
preaching to
say,
the choir here, because we all, I think unanimously thought, because I think you came up with the idea first, Michael, to put in the precast, and unfortunately was rejected despite
I
our.
don't know why. I know,
I
and
think
now, to
cost
be
was
full
mentioned.
disclosure.
Cost was mentioned.
Excuse me?
Cost was mentioned as a factor, and I thought there were some approvals that, because
No,
of fisheries and
no,
things.
nope, not at all.
No?
I mean, this is so less,
No fish there.
far less disturbance. This would have needed, in my opinion, at least a 20-foot wide excavation, because there's a bit of overdig and because you have to form these footings. The footings come out this way away from the bridge. And then, again, the time duration. I asked white contractors, just give me a conservative timeline. And basically, just like we were saying about, it's about 4 weeks. And there's a little downtime. So the first week is just prepping for it. Then you have to time it. So these units are heavy, and you can't take it off with a backhoe. You have to have a sizable machine. And that costs money to bring the machine to the job. So you time everything. When these units come, the contractor has to offload them from the flatbed, not the United Concrete. They don't do that. They expect you to be there to take them off. So they want to time it with the size of the machine. The biggest obstacle we have, believe it or not, of course, the overhead wires are on our side. So that was another reason. He could have retained a crane to come over, pick them and put them in place, but that would have been a little bit of a conflict. So instead they have to have a fairly large excavator that comes in for enough time to prep it, take them, set them, and then pretty much you're done with that machine. It's gone. And then the rest of the work is doing the call them the head walls, just a little flared end sections on the front and the back to make that line where you can backfill against it and just have a nice clean cut. So the first week is basically mobilization and demolition. Get it out, right? Get the bridge out. The water is flowing. Should we have that? The second week would be to set the culverts and do the backfilling. The next week is to do the head wall and the end wall. And then the last week is just clean up. So it's pretty simple. And then the dewatering was fine too. You're not going to see a lot of dewatering activity here because they were going to have to go down 42 inches below the stream bed. Now you're getting into the water table. Now you have to pump. And this situation, you don't. We have the coffer dam set up. There's a nice overflow pipe that, when it's not raining, works in reverse, and we can dry that out. Once that culvert's in place, basically you'll keep it there for the duration, but as soon as you're done building the head wall and end wall, you can get rid of all that. You can
So
take
it's
the
gonna
culvert
have
out.
sides then? Is it's?
Like this. We're not doing wing walls out like that, right?
Right.
They're just across,
Okay.
so that we can slope the, small stream. It's just, I don't know if you call it a water course more than anything else,
Mm.
you know?
And is it gonna be round or is it like?
It's a box culvert, so
Square.
it's a square look.
Square,
Square,
okay.
yeah. There are other options like elliptical culverts. They're really neat looking, you know, but they have a long lead time. Box culverts are made almost daily.
Yeah.
There's a
What is it?
there's a contact, which is a type of arch precast, which is pretty neat too. But then you have more prepping to do. Really nice look to it, but the box culverts come with that nice flat bottom, and you literally set them in place and done. Joe Canis from Dye & Bond had a nice review. He added some suggestions that we easily took care of, you know, some ceilings.
So
And then-
what state is it at now? It's still, nothing has started?
No,
I didn't drive over it.
Okay, oh.
Well, not pending approval, excuse me. What?
The bridge is still there.
No, what I requested, because when I heard about this, was like, you know, we were almost universally against the initial plan. When I heard this, and then I heard that you were involved and you proposed this solution, I was like, amen. No, let's bring it in, but I wanted all the members of the commission to hear this. And I don't think there was gonna be any issue, but I wanted you guys to know, okay, because you drive by Seagate, everybody drives by Seagate, so I wanted everybody to know what was going on, so that, and if there was a major objection, you guys have a chance to speak up, so it's an inclusivity thing.
Yeah, it's a great contractor that's doing the work.
We're half the width and half the depth, if you think of it that way. We're not going down. Full disclosure, one of the engineers familiar with this project from Onoman, we hired him. We're still training him. But, you know, I got all the background, and he never could give me the answer I wanted to hear, like, why would you do this and not that? It didn't satisfy me.
Well, we didn't get the answer to that either.
I think that we did ask that, because Rick and I were just saying, why don't you just order some parts and assemble a box culvert? And it sounded like that the applicant thought that there was an economic savings to building the contraption
Yeah.
that they initially proposed.
Maybe on paper, but you know, even
Well-
my contractor is the same way as, why are you doing this and not that?
And I know Jimmy Morris and Tommy White really well. so
There you
it's
go,
just-
so, and you
It's
know.
a spectacular
they're good.
contractor that's gonna be doing the work. They did the renovation work for the Bush Holly House. They did the St. Grillo property on Long Neck Point.
Who
They-
is this contractor?
White Contractors.
White.
They're out of
Yeah.
Greenwich.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good.
So you went from like, on this applicant, if they're listening, they got the A team this time.
Yes.
So I think if you need an answer on why it wasn't done this first time, you need to listen to the recording of the conversation that occurred between this commission and also not the applicant homeowner, but the applicant in general, because there was no doubt that this solution was raised a number of times.
Yeah, it was.
And I think this is a good example of how, if people listen to the commission, we're not here to obstruct, we're here to be helpful to the homeowners in town, and helpful particularly for the contractors in situations where we know there's a lot of talent here, and I'm glad there's a lot of talent coming to the rescue of this homeowner, because they sure need this work done.
They've been patient. You know, it was tough on us to take on other work with our workload. So they've been very patient. They're very appreciative of the fact that we're doing this discussion tonight. They did not want to go through another permit process.
Neither did we with them.
So I kept encouraging them, I know, be patient, but we'll make this work. So happy to say that.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And again, like, I don't know if I'm being punished, but you know, I've known this gentleman for many, many years. I think he put me at the end just to punish me a little bit.
Payback.
I make a motion to approve the,
Adjourn.
excuse me, What time is it? I make a motion to adjourn the public hearing and regular meeting of EPC Wednesday, May 6, 2026.
Second that motion.
All in favor? Thank you. Good night, Channel 79.